meeting on order. We all please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Mr. Liddell, please do the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Establish the quorum.
Richard Pettis,
Here.
Renee Diaz,
Here.
Anthony Reyes,
Here.
Susan Street,
Here.
Sergio Cox,
Here.
and Gloria Ruiz. Here. Orly Stop.
Public comment.
We have, Ralph Nash,
Mayor and Council,
Good evening, sir.
good evening. 2%, that's how many people, a little bit over 2%, how many people came out to vote in the last election. That is unacceptable. Why do we not have a get out the vote initiative by council, by the city of Socorro? Where were council members trying to get people to go vote, not for a particular candidate, but just get people out to vote? Instead of a lot of the times that a city has a function, why is there no voter registration cards available to get people to register to vote? If we want to be taken seriously in the county, they don't look at us because we don't vote. The only thing they look at is votes. 2% is not getting their attention. We want to buy Hoover Field. If we had a huge voter turnout, they would listen to us. They're not listening to us. If we want something from the county, we're going to have to show them that we can get the vote out. That's what they listen to, is voters and votes. So, we need to get those numbers up in the next election, because 2% is not going to get anybody's attention. So the next time that we have a function, maybe we should have voter registration drives. Maybe we should have the next elections and get out the vote drive by council to get people to go vote and get Socorro recognized by the county, by the state. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Margarita Martinez,
Your repeat, please.
Margarita Martinez,
Señora Martínez.
My name is Margarita Martinez. I live by Mauro Rosas Park.
Buenas
Say?
tardes.
Buenas tardes. I'm here to ask you guys to fix the park because we deserve it. The kids around there, they always play in the street. In front of my house, they always throwing the balls inside my house, the toys and everything, and we asked them to stop and they said they don't have place to play. So please make it happen, and we want it to be the way it was said before. Not simple, no. The way the other council are going to do it. Because I think they have money to do it. They just don't want to do it. Because if the other council were going to do it, it means there was money there to do it. So that's the only way we want it, not less. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Jaime Rodriguez,
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Resulta que vine yo aquí a testimoniar por la razón de la que dijo esta señora. Queremos un parque, ya lo tenemos, pero ahorita está completamente desbaratado. Queríamos saber si nos lo podían reconstruir, de pelea para que los niños anden, tengan uno para andar ahí. Y, pues, pasar que se vea bonito ahí, porque está estamos de prioridad que nos lo deje como estaba, o acabarlo como nos lo había prometido la ciudad. Eso es todo.
Gracias.
Albert Flores.
Afternoon, Mr. Cox, Ms. Rodriguez, Mayor, Anthony, Director, Rene. Well, my family owns property by Malosos Park in Armos as well. I'm here to reach out to you guys. Malosos Park was designed a certain way. And I'm gonna use Mr. Perez. You as an administrator know that there's no monetary value when it comes to education. I showed the designs that were posted originally to her, explained to her what is involved in that park and what this council proposes. And when you ask her, she said, that is not fair. I want to be able to see the stars. I want to be able to see that. She is studying that in astrology. You and I both know. And you went to a university, right? You know that there's no monetary value in education. And we need to stop selling support as poor, as we don't deserve it. We deserve everything we can. I'm not here for the reason but to get the best for our community, our children. This is our future. Me and Mr. Cox have talked on other issues too. I hope that you guys understand that this watered down version that you want to propose doesn't cut it. We are supportive. Are you not proud of being supportive? I am. Are you? Are you proud of being supportive, Mr. Perez? Are you, Rodriguez? Then why are we trying to sell ourselves short? Also, the other agenda that has me concerned is the militarization of our police department. And force, really. And force. Anybody that's been in law enforcement and also military veterans know that it takes exactly 3 years to be proficient in that weapon system. One thing you ought to ask your police officer, do you know what sports is? In combat, that is very important. Sports. It's not football, it's not soccer, but sports. Learn that acronym, and then we will talk about bringing in force. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sergio Jaime.
Pues por lo visto hay fiebre con los parques, ¿verdad? Es lo único que se oye aquí. No se oye de que pidamos calles pavimentadas, controlar el tráfico. Ahorita es más prioridad pavimentar que fijarse en los parques. Fíjense ustedes en los parques cómo están solos. O hay muy buen dinero ahí de por medio, o qué está pasando, porque todo el mundo quiere parques, pero no piden pavimento, que las calles están destrozadas. Para su área hay un muladar allá, tiran perros, gatos y todo allá. Eso es lo que hay que fijarnos. No es por reprochar nada. No estoy en contra de los parques, pero prioridades, señores, es la pavimentación, banquetas por donde caminan las criaturas. No que ahí llueve y ahí andan los niños caminando por la calle. ¿Qué es eso? Y es tiempo, señores, de que hagan algo en las calles. Parques no necesitamos ahorita, no es una prioridad. No se empeñen tanto en los parques, porque no son prioridades. Las calles se necesitan más, los carros se destruyen y todo. Y el parque no se va a destruir porque lo dicen ahí va a estar. Ahora quieren comprar un parque, ¿por qué quieren comprar un parque? Hombre, por favor, ya basta. Hay que invertir el dinero donde hay necesidades, no donde no se necesita. Hagan conciencia de eso, por favor. 500,000 dólares para un parque. Y las calles que aquí en Nuevo vamos a echar 3, 4, 5 calles hay que van a ver dinero, ¿a cuándo? ¿A fin de año? Pues a lo mejor ya nos movimos todos, o ya no vamos a estar aquí y ya no se va a hacer nada. También todavía quedan cuentas pendientes que no se ha hecho nada con el dinero que se utilizó para los abogados. Aquí hay gente que debe, aquí están, hay gente que debe dinero y no le han hecho nada, no le han cobrado nada. ¿Por qué? A una regidora antes, si no reportaba ese dinero, la iban a correr. Y aquí tenemos personas que han gastado dinero del erario público y no lo ha pagado, y no podría estar aquí. Entonces, pónganse ya, por favor, las pilas y hagan algo. Hay gente que no debe de estar aquí. Aquí también se presenta un señor, gracias.
Gracias, señor.
James Summer.
Good.
Left
James
hand.
Goldberg, I'm a business owner here in Socorro. I don't live in Socorro, but my wife would say that I live in Socorro. And I'm the one that made these signs a long time ago, or during the last cycle. If you guys don't remember, if you remember me. There's a reason why I made this. And just like we were saying about the voting, you know what? It is a shame on us. And you know what? I see that we got an agenda again, we got the parks back up. And then you're trying to build a monument to stupidity again. You know what? You don't need millions of dollars to build a park. Kids just need grass and a safe place to play. You know, we don't need to start spending money on stuff, especially when we got all these other priorities. And if you guys had to look, we got big subdivisions coming up that are gonna drain more water into the problems you already have. Those should be priorities, not these monuments of massive stupidity and of waste and who knows what kind of corruption was involved with that. But Mr. Yanda, I'm directing this to you. If you're going to be one of these rats that we're talking about, then just be advised.
Mrs. Lomberg, sir, we don't allow calling out city council members.
Please, I'm sorry, but hey, I'm just gonna be watching. Because hey, just like a spade's a spade, a rat's a rat.
Thank you, sir.
Rosa.
All right, can we go ahead and move up item number 20 and 25? The nurses are here, and I believe Ms. Apalachi's here as well to speak about those specific items.
I sent you one, second.
I have a motion to move item number 20 and 25 next on the agenda, made by Mr. Bettis, seconded by Mr. Rodriguez. Yes.
Mr. Pettis.
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Garza.
Aye.
Mr. Cox.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Rodriguez. Yes, motion passes.
Okay, item number 20, discussion action regarding Mission Tree Association PABC license. Do you have a motion for this?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion made by Mr. Bettis, seconded by Mrs. Rodriguez to go ahead and approve this item. Any discussion, Mr. Bettis?
Is there a presentation?
I'm not sure. Victor, do you have anything on this?
Good evening, everybody. The reason why we brought this to council was not for the amount of money, but just we can go and get consensus from everyone's opinion on what the best action should be. Ms. Kathy Apodaca is here to represent the Mission Trail Association. What they are asking for is half of the fee for the CABC license for this year's upcoming toy festival.
All right, Mrs. Rodriguez, Mr. Costa. Mrs. Rodriguez.
Would you please say just the amount, just so that people can know?
Okay, as included in your packets when you got the actual first agenda item, the total of the license is $231, and we'll only be paying half of that for this year.
So we're going more than 115.
And then they were covered there.
Mr. Cox.
I would like to direct this question to our attorney. Mr. Martinez, in regards to this beer license stuff, being a city, an incorporated city, we getting into the beer business, but being involved in the purchase of a beer license for the festival was already funded by the city for this past year. And he se issue as a city?
We have to see your problem as a broad issue, as a broad question. It's not legally prohibited. You have the right to do that if you wish to do it. It's not uncommon for municipalities to have liquor licenses for concessions at various places. I think it's more common to handle that through a vendor, but yes, municipalities do that.
You mentioned, Victor, that this will be for this coming year.
For next fiscal year, because it will be, well, no, it'll be this year in August. But we wouldn't pay for half their license, we would just give them a donation. That would cover half their license. Would make a donation to the nonprofit. Since it is a nonprofit organization, we wouldn't pay for half the license, we would just give them a donation.
Did we pay this past year?
No, we did not this year, and they kept full 100% of their profit. But since the contract states this year, we will get half of it, they're requesting that we get half of it as well.
Is there an actual contract now?
It has not been signed yet, we're waiting just to get the finalized one from the attorney with the corrections that we needed, which would be the change in the presidentship from Mary Bettis, she's no longer the president anymore.
Anybody else? All right, Mr. Costa.
So would we, and I'm asking council, would we be putting the cart ahead of the horse again because we're getting into a situation where we haven't got a signed contract yet? And we've already allowed one festival that they got 100% of the profit. And prior to this, we were supposed to get a signed copy of the contract. I don't know where the fault lies, but the problem is, here we are getting ready to jump into a second year where we're supposed to go 50-50, and we still don't have this contract.
Well, that's why I asked.
Like I said, like that. So I'm asking council, do we want to enter into this without the contract being signed? Once again, I caution us, and I caution council about the required head of the horse.
If I may, I agree, and as I stated on the agenda item, I agree solely if we do receive the signed contract first. That was my recommendation.
So we go ahead and make a motion to say that to approve upon the, pending the signing of the contract, and once we have, we can go ahead and do that. Jen, would that be okay?
Certainly is.
Certainly, I would amend my motion to go ahead and approve the contribution to the Mission Trail Association pending the contractual stipulation that we will receive 50% of the profit on the sign.
I can second that. I can second.
We have a motion and a second to go ahead and approve. Now,
Could I say something?
yes,
Or
ma'am.
no? The only thing that I wanted to say is, I'm sorry, good evening, council members and mayor and other dignitaries. The only reason that I questioned this with Victor when he first sent me the contract to have it signed was because the agreement was a second year, we would split the profits. So I felt, or the organization felt, that if we're going to split the profits, we can split the expenses. Now, I have no problem continuing to get it under Mission Trail's license, under our 501c status, and under our name for that benefit. So it wouldn't have any effect on the city whatsoever.
Well, based on the comment you just made, Matt, that we would split the expenses. I know this past year, we had to reimburse some of the costs of the entertainment. Would that be the same this coming year as well, or are you only referring to the beer sales and nothing else? Because I know that this past year we were asked to cover certain things that we hadn't foreseen from the Mission Trail. And so right now you just said that we would split the cost because we would split the profit. So is this only referring to the actual beer sales, or would there be more expenses in the future that you would say, can you help us out with this?
The only other thing I would think would be the sharing of the expense of the beer. Wouldn't you? I mean, I'm assuming that that is the agreement for this year. We're sharing the profits, we're going to share the expenses for the beer only. And again, we don't have a problem obtaining that beer, buying it under our 501c. We already have an account with Budweiser, or if you prefer to have other beers involved, there's no problem in us doing that too. But the expense that came before you was due to the person that was in charge of the music asking someone to participate, paying everyone else, and then that evening told me that he didn't have the funds to pay for one band. So, I mean, that was unexpected to us as well as yourselves. That's the only reason we asked for your assistance.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
I have one.
Can we have your name for the record, please?
I'm sorry, Kathy Agadaka.
Ms. Zapalaka. I understood what the mayor was saying, so our only obligation is gonna be for the people,
Yes,
nothing else.
no. Unless, I don't know if anything might change, Or will be, I don't know who's going to be in charge of the entertainment and all that this year, but, those things, I guess, could be questioned at the time that person is
Mr. Thompson.
engaged.
And I need to answer to Victor, with my apologies. This last one,
Yes, sir.
it was their show. We computed, we helped out with expenses and so forth.
Yes.
And it was, in other words, it was their baby, so they should have taken care of everything, right?
Their
What was your part, or our part, in involving, as far as being involved with the Chili Board Festival?
We coordinated together, me, myself, my staff, as well as Ms. Jessica Diaz, when she was on board. We did begin coordinating the event together as a partnership, just since it was our first year and we didn't have any contact information in terms of growers or vendors or what the actual event had been. I had never previously attended one myself, so we did it jointly the first year. And this year,
Overall, satisfactory? How was the turnout? Was it, I understand there wasn't any chili.
there was no event, but I heard really good things from the community. They were very happy that it was a free event, that we kept to that. We provided quality entertainment to all of our constituents. I try to keep everything family friendly, and they're coming to expect the quality of service that we can definitely give them. So overall, it was a very good turnout. We always want to make the next event bigger and better as much as we can, and I'm glad to start the training with that.
All right, so we do have a motion to second.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Gallo?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Rodriguez? Yes, motion passes.
All right, moving on to item 25, discussion action to contribute funds to Lower Valley Nurse Association for the 33rd Second Annual Lower Valley Health Fair for residents. Do we have a motion on this? We have a motion made by Mr. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Rodriguez. Any discussion?
For the record, I'm third.
I'm sorry?
For the record, I'm third. Okay.
I would like to make a motion to approve and then provide them $1,500 that we usually do.
That's
For the events,
yes.
if it's okay and
All right, so we have a motion to go ahead and approve with the donation being $1,500. Mr. Rodriguez, will you still second? Yes. All right, with a motion and a second, any further discussion? All right.
Okay. Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Gallo?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Rodriguez? Yes, motion passes.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. We wanted to, do you mind, we wanted to pass out just a list of the services
Just
that
some
we
of the
provided
services.
last year. Those are numbers for the services that we provided last year, just so you all have an idea of where the money is going and the services that we provide as well, okay?
I think Mr. Perez has a list.
Okay. Did you get a chance to see it? Here. Those are pictures of the event. The newspaper. Thank you. Oh, you did see it, okay, okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, moving on to the presentations. Moving back up. Presentation by Will Norfleet Jr., City Manager, regarding monthly report. Mr. Norfleet?
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and City Council.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm going to present the November 2014 report as well as December 2014. The first two pictures are actually the city of Socorro in New Mexico while we were going to the United States Army Corps of Engineers to discuss the city of Socorro's floodplain. Part of that discussion was to vet out the city's program with the Corps of Engineers, where they said that what we were doing would not have any particular adverse effects on what they're planning to do several years from now in terms of holding the water. One particular challenge that they mentioned is how to turn the water at a 90-degree level when it comes out of I-10 and turning down Stockyard. And that is being one of the major challenges that they said that we would have. As well as if the water was, or the rain and drain water was at least 3+ more inches, we would really have a challenge at handling that particular water. And that was one of the events that we had. The second item in the month of November was meeting with TxDOT concerning the completion schedule for the widening of Horizon Boulevard. At that time, they told us that the crews will come out at the first month of January and start paving 1/4 of the street, basically the western part of Horizon that's right between North Loop and the railroad track. However, a subsequent follow-up said that they will come in February for that particular purpose. The third item during the month was that the cameras were installed at...
Yes, just me, just so everybody's feeling this was a hot topic of the project. Whose responsibility is the Horizon Boulevard construction?
The Horizon Boulevard project is actually coordinated by TxDOT themselves.
Are we doing any construction on it?
We're not doing any construction at all, maybe a little cleanup, a little bit of cosmetic work, and one of the things that we did do was fill the ruts on Horizon Boulevard right at Alameda. But the total project is to be done by TxDOT independently that it is the city of Socorro Street.
Thank you, sir. Apologies.
The third item is that the cameras were installed in Bulldog Championship Park as well as the Public Works Department. There was a meeting in which I attended as well as other city officials related to the Texas gas service rates not being the same as the city of El Paso, and that's one of the items that we will be discussing today. The next one, number 5, is that several streets were paved during the month of November. Navarres, Apodaca, and Maurice. And Maurice is one that we were attempting to pave at least 2 years ago and finally got it paved now. Number 6, cutting grass on the right-of-way was completed, and the temporary employees that were hired to help with that particular purpose have been released. Number 7, a meeting was conducted with elected officials and the city staff concerning what we would do with the onion field, which is at Rio Vista and Thunder Road, the 24-acre lot, once we purchased it. And we pretty much said that we would dredge it out, clean it out, and find a way to get the water from Stockyard, the Thunder Road burn into the onion field, as well as getting it out of the onion field into the Meadow Spur drain. Number 8, AT&T worked on moving the wires from Horizon Boulevard in relationship to the widening project. So the utilities are actually completed now, and hopefully very shortly, as you can see in this particular slide, these poles are now removed, and now it's a little stump there. So that has already been taken out, and all the utilities are in process. One other thing to mention is number 9. The lot next to the new Whataburger has been cleared out as a result of the efforts of the code enforcement. Number 10, the lot at the Horizon Boulevard and North Loop has been cleaned out, or the growth has been removed in that particular site. Number 11, the city was involved in meeting with Metropolitan Planning Organization concerning $500,000 application for safe route to school, and that'll be the next presentation after me to give more details on that. Number 12, the city manager and the human resource director met with the vendor concerning the status of the computer conversion and conversion process, as well as the completion date. Number 13, the city conducted an educational fair for city employees. In the council chamber, 18 employees actually attended. The various universities was Park University, UTEP, Western Tech, and El Paso Community College attended that educational fair. Number 15, recognition was given to the Socorro High School students for filling sandbags on several weekends during the last fiscal year, but the award was in November. Number 16, the Public Works filled the right-of-way along Horizon and Alameda where it was huge ruts, so they put in a lot of material for that. And for the month of December, which the pictures are now on that, I will indicate that a meeting was conducted with the mayor and myself, along with the Representative Mary Gonzalez, to discuss flooding in the city of Socorro, and what concerns were there for the 2015 state legislation. And what she indicated is that she will be talking about flooding in general and possibly some sort of fee for stormwater management and education initiative. We also told her about the city actually purchasing a liquid vacuum truck to remove water during the flooding that's on the various streets. Number two, mayor and city manager met with the county commissioner Perez concerning the county providing $2.9 million for Old Waco Tanks Road project. Commissioner Perez assured us that the funds would be approved in the month of January or February. Number three, I talked with Park Hill, Smith and Cooper concerning getting a design for Margarosas Park for an estimate of $300,000. Most of the funding will be used for utilities to install water, sewer, and electricity. Number four, the construction of the Leadership Bridge has started on the east of Passmore Road and south of Alameda Boulevard. Number five, Whataburger and Polo Files has opened, which is a chicken operation on Alameda. Well, it's a nice little place. But we literally have about 20 commercial stalls there, and there's probably about 7 or 8 businesses that's already beginning to fill that particular site. But I just highlighted the one. In fact, it's coming up on a slide or two. But no, I think we already passed it. Yes, we passed it. Okay, number 6. The city manager attended a meet and greet with Congressman Will Hurd in the city of San Elazio. That was one of the films earlier where he was standing there talking, but I got to sit down there at the meet and greet, so I did that. Number 7, attended a meeting with the mayor, public works director, planning and zoning director, grant administrator, and Union Pacific Railroad to discuss cleaning the railroad right away as well as storage of equipment while a second rail was being created. Number 8, the Public Works Department improved the street shoulder on Lydia Street. Number 9, the city provided an appreciation luncheon for city employees, and I think we just passed that. Number 10, which the slides are in right now, the police department had an induction ceremony for 2 new police officers, fresh out of the cadet, which was a very good program, and I guess maybe the chief will say a few words about that a little bit later. Number 11, the lot next to the Apodaca Center was graded and grass seeds will be planted in February 2005. And number 12 is really the city conducted the Winter Festival at the Rio Vista Community Center, and these are the slides concerning that particular event. There's a few more. And the very last thing that's being reported, number 13, Mr. Anthony Gondura was sworn in as a city council member for District 4. This concludes November and December report.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We get the outside? We get the outside? Moving on to item number 6, presentation by Anibal O'Reilly regarding CDBG grant.
Mayor and Council, good afternoon. We have Ms. Annette Gutierrez. She's the Executive Director for the Rio Grande Council of Governments. Today we wanted to give you a brief update on the CDBG application that the city is working on. This is funding from the Community Development Block Grant. This funding comes from the Rio Grande Council of Governments for the region. It's about $800,000, $700,000 to $800,000 that communities apply for economic development. We've been using these funds to improve streets. For example, one of the last grants we received, we used it to improve Marie Street, where we reconstructed the street and built sidewalks. You know, the city is working with different hazard mitigation projects to address the flood issues that we're having in the city. One of the options that we were evaluating was to use most of the CDBG funds that are coming to the county for this project. And Mayor and Representative Rodriguez, our city manager, and I met with the Rio Grande Council of Governments to discuss these options. And Ms. Gutierrez came out with a couple of options. I want to let us give you a brief overview of how the program works and where we're at, and then I'll give you a brief presentation of where we're at in the application.
Good evening, council members. Mayor. Good evening. My name is Annette Gutierrez. I'm the executive director of the Rio Grande Council of Governments. And the Rio Grande Council of Governments provides staff support to the Texas Department of Agriculture.
Excuse me,
That's okay.
I had turned it off, but I guess it didn't turn.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. And so we provide staff support to Texas Department of Agriculture for the Regional Review Committee. The committee is made up of local elected officials, and they decide what are the parameters for this program. In addition to the input from the Regional Review Committee, the Texas Department of Agriculture staff also provides their input and sets the guidelines for the scoring process as well. So it's a twofold process. What's unique in our area along the Rio Grande is that with the number of non-entitlement communities that we have, which are those that are 50,000 and under or 200,000 and under for counties, what we've been able to do over the years is that we estimate what the allocation is going to be for our region, and then we identify eligible applicants, and then everyone is notified and is able to commit to applying for the grant. And so then we're able to divide the money up equally, so everyone has a fair share in applying for the funds. What it's like in most of the other regions in the state is it's competitive. You will have 20 applicants apply, and maybe 4 will get the funding, dependent on how much funds is available. But in our region, because of the number of applicants we have and the funding that we receive, we've been able to work it out in this manner, what we call the gentleman's agreement. What we thought of this year was, knowing the situation with Socorro and the flooding and what the residents have had to endure over the years, is that we asked each community within El Paso County if they would consider not applying for this round. And by them not applying for the round, then that money would go towards the city of Socorro. So we have received verbal commitments from Clint, from El Paso County, from Horizon, as well as Anthony, that we would not apply this round in order to make that funding available to City of Socorro. So Anibal is going to talk about what the funding looks like right now with the project. We're looking at about $625,000. We'll be working with Mr. Olaga and Mr. Norfleet to identify what the total cost is going to be. But if we see that there might be some additional funding available to Socorro to apply, once we finish the tally and identify who's going to be applying from the other 5 counties, then we'll notify the city that we can apply for more funding above the $625,000. Are there any questions for me with regard to this?
Mrs. Rodriguez, Mr. Pettis.
Okay.
Do you have an opening?
And, I'm sorry?
Do you have an opening?
With regard to the,
Remember you some,
yes, well, we definitely, right now we've got our board set for this year, but we definitely can talk about for the upcoming year in 2016, talk about board membership and representation for small communities.
Quick question, with regard to the commitments of not going through this funding cycle, or this funding cycle, did that also include, or was that invitation also extended to other member counties in the pot?
What we did was we talked about the situation with Socorro, and Mr. Norfleet and Mr. Olaga were present at the meeting in Van Horn, and we decided that we were going to leave the funding for those other counties for their projects. So it was mentioned, but as far as them deciding not to participate to increase the level of funding for Socorro, that did not happen. Yes, sir.
Well, actually, it was Norfleet and myself.
Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize.
And as of 2 weeks ago, we had a TPAC. It was 2 weeks ago? Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. And I got there early, I talked to the other members, and they still agreed that they're gonna let us do, they're not gonna go and apply so that we can get the full amount of the grant. So,
And we did talk about the possibility of doing an MOU between the communities and the city of Socorro to ensure that that commitment has been made in writing. And so we're still working on that. We still have a little bit of time. It's getting close because I know we'll talk about what the schedule looks like. But I'm very happy with the camaraderie and the willingness of the other communities, because it's very difficult to do this type of funding for your community development projects. And so I think these other communities recognize the dire need that the city of Socorro has with regard to the flooding. And so I think you're really on board.
before, other councils, we didn't have this kind of open relationship with these counties, and these entities. And when we came in, we changed their way of thinking and saying, hey, you know what? And they saw the need that Socorro has. From all the county, from all the entire county, you know, we are one of the most needed entities. So, I mean, we just sat down with them, explained to them what it was, and basically, you know, that's where we're at.
And I can just say your staff has done a tremendous job. We've had several meetings where Commissioner Leon was very active. He was the one who spearheaded the initiative, even though it wasn't in his county, but Commissioner Pettis' staff has been on board as well. But Mr. Leone and Mr. Northland and then the assistance of Mr. Alani as well, I think that's really brought everybody together to explain what the processes and how these funds can go a long way mitigating the project area that's in question. Any other questions?
Okay. I'll
Thank you.
take a seat here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. So, I would like to mention that although the funds are available for all the entities, we have to make sure that we submit an application. Because the state will sort of review the application, and if it's incomplete or it doesn't meet the guidelines, it will be denied. That's with this project and any other CDBG project. So still a competitive process. So during these planning meetings, we evaluated different options to use these funds. And the best option that we identified was to improve the Sparks Arroyo culvert on I-10. And Mr. Leone has been working a lot on putting together a budget with our office, and the improvement will be about $465,000, 998. The engineering and design cost will be also part of the application, and that's another $102,000. And then we have another $55,000 from administrative costs that are part of this. As of today, we've been working on this application since December, and one of the first things we did, we put an outline, a timeline of things that we need to do. And so today, I left a copy of this timeline in your desk, and it includes the different procedures that we have done so far. Some of the most important ones was to acquire the land where we're going to have the improvements on. And Mr. Lee has been working closely with different landowners, so with the landlord owner that owns this land, and they've been pretty cooperative. And so we're moving forward with this. We have done the necessary public hearings and publications in the newspaper. The last thing we're waiting for is an engineer to complete reviewing the plan and come up with a final budget so we can stamp it. The application is due at the end of February. We're targeting to complete the application before that, hopefully 2 weeks before that, so that we have enough time to review or do any other changes. We're waiting, Council Garvin is will continue working with the different entities to make sure that we have an MOU, and that will ensure that we have a fair commitment on this application and we don't see other applications at the end. Hopefully they identify additional money from the other entities that are not applying, only from other counties. We may be able to access a little more money, and we'll be able to amend the application and include additional projects with that. I don't have any other questions.
On items area number 1 and 2, we're more than a month behind, or almost approaching a month behind on those letters. What is the status of
Those are the ones that she was mentioning right now, that they said yes verbally, but they haven't actually signed an actual letter, so that's more of everybody else actually.
So those are the MOUs.
Right. We want to have it in writing that we are supporting the project. We have identified the different entities, and the Council of Governors is working on an MOU document so we can sign it. Hopefully we'll have it by the first week of February.
Because I'm thinking that you're looking at their timeline, whatever, whether it's a municipality, whatever is submitting, having their respective bodies approve the signatures of the MOUs. And so that's what worries me, is that I think we're significantly behind.
And it worries me too, and I've been having contacted the Council of Governments because they have been very helpful in this process. We have, as Representative Rodriguez stated, we've been talking to the different entities throughout other meetings that we've been partnering. They have expressed a firm commitment. We just got to get it right. But if they don't submit the application, they would have started already working on their application with the publications, which we've been monitoring. We haven't seen anything else in the newspaper.
Mr. Pascal, and then I'll ask my question.
Maybe it's the same question. With everything and all the ducks in order, what are you anticipating, like when you think you might be able to know something for, as far as having obtained the funds and so forth?
And then the application goes to the national government to review, they'll do a pre-screening, and then they submit the application to the state of Texas. Assuming that the funds will be available in October, in February.
They'll be notifying the awardees late summer. Yes, and as far as the letters, your staff has been doing everything they can to get that commitment. I've put it on our staff to make sure that that happens, and so we have been in communication with our communities, whether it's through our board meetings or committee meetings, and so, I know nothing is ever for sure, unless you have that in writing, but I feel very confident with the way we're moving forward and how they're agreeing to not be, to go ahead and not apply. The other thing is that, you do have to meet the timeline as far as your public hearing, and so by them not posting the public hearing, that's also another indication that it's not going to happen, because it's almost too late to start the process now. But having said that, I know that this will go a long way for us to be able to set on their agenda the request, and so that way the community knows what's happening as well. So we're working on that. The funding will start sometime in, I'd say about October, the first quarter of fiscal year 16.
So I guess, and the reason I asked that, because we'll be going through another monsoon season.
Yes, sir.
And we won't have any improvements on this area, which is eating away at some of the borders that are bordering some houses there off of Cielo Azul. That's my district, that's why I was concerned about it. When we were looking at possibly getting something going in there.
And they are delayed, as far as agriculture, this is not the norm as far as the application process. It usually happens in September, but they have delayed the application deadline, internal reshuffling the staff, things of that nature. So this is different for us as far as this kind of timeline, and I don't want to make any guarantee that it's going to be here before the summer, but I think we'll have to sit out that one more summer before the funding is recognized and you're able to actually do the infrastructure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 7, presentation of certificates of appreciation for participating in the Socorro Police Department induction ceremony on December 5th, 2014. Mayor Jesus Ruiz, City Manager Willie Norwood Jr., Councilman Sergio Cox, and Judge Eddie Garcia. Chief.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, good evening. I'm Carlos Malden, I'm the Chief of the Socorro Police Department. On December 5th, we had an induction ceremony for 3 of our newest members of the Socorro Police Department. From that point, we are proceeding with an FTO program, which is a training program where we provide training to the officers. It's about a 4-phase program. We're looking at about 3 months before they're, 3 or 4 months before they're actually 6 months, before they're actually on the road and performing the duties and responsibilities on their own. So it's a very robust program that Officer Munoz put together, well thought out, very well planned. We're covering all the bases. You're going to have an excellent quality product in terms of the services that they provide. It's an excellent program. On that note, Mayor, I just want to take this opportunity to thank the members of your council who were there. It meant a lot to the family members and to the officers. It was basically a graduation ceremony. It was a compilation of everybody contributing and putting various components to the program. We made it a little formal. The family absolutely loved it. There wasn't a dry eye, I think, in the room. But I want to thank you. I want to take the time to just present you with these items. you so much. Thank you very much. Councilmember Cox. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. And Judge Garcia, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You made it very, very special. Thank you so much.
All right, good, thank you.
Right here. No, and before we move on, I just want to thank Chief Mel and his staff. It was a great ceremony. It was really touching to have that for the new police officers over there. It was a really great moment for everybody involved. I want to thank you all for putting it together, and the department for doing such a great job of protecting our citizens. Thank you very much for all that you do. Moving on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion for this?
Motion to approve with the change. On number 9, for the minutes.
Yes.
So can you bring up item number 10, please? Can you bring up item 10, please? Item number 10.
Well, what is it that you want to change this week?
There's not a change, I want to discuss item number 10. Can we bring it out of the consent agenda as well?
Well, hold on a second. What will be your motion then? Do you want to, what will the changes that you want, or?
Let me change the motion. I would like to bring up item 10 and also change on item 9, number 39. On our minutes, it says that I voted yes on number 39, but on my notes, I have that I abstained. So with that change, I would like to approve the minutes. And right now, I just take out item number 10 for discussion.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second on that?
Yes. Second.
We have a motion made by Mr. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Cox to go ahead and approve the consent agenda with changes to the minutes as mentioned, and to take out item number 10 for discussion. Any discussion on this? All right.
I would like to.
Item number 9 first.
No, we approved it. We're just taking out 10.
Corrections?
Okay, Mr. Pettit?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Rivera?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Lee? Yes, motion passed.
Okay, item number 10, approval for authorizing civil service commissioners and human resources staff to attend the Texas Public Employer Labor Relations Association Annual Workshop and 29th Annual Civil Service Workshop in Sugar Land, Texas, February 12th through the 30th of 2015. Mr. Cox.
February 12 and 13. Yeah, and I would like to know how we plan, I understand we're requesting 4 people get to go, and I'd like to know how we selected them, or how we're going to select them, because I would like for my candidate on the Civil Service Commission to get him to attend, because he's brand new and he's learning, and I would like him to be one of the 4, if it's going to be 4.
Do you have a?
Mr. Rodriguez.
Oh, okay. And that's what I want to bring up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Pretty much, we didn't select the candidates because we wanted council to make that decision who we wanted to send to the civil service. I do know we have Edward Reyes, which is a new commissioner, and we have Cesar Nevares. Also, it's my understanding that our secretary has never gone to a training, which is Ms. Olivia Navarro. And that would leave either one for the HR director or Mr. Narby, whoever.
Or just those 3?
Or just 3.
Mrs. Rodriguez, I see.
I would like to for Mr. Alex Miranda to go, because last time he went and he brought a lot of information, so I would like for him to go in.
We can send Mr. Miranda.
Okay.
Well, I suggest we just send all the new council members,
Commissioners.
I mean, all the commissioners, the new ones, and then, Mr. North.
Okay, so you're saying set 5 positions?
No, just the new ones.
Which is Ethel,
Ethel.
Cesar Nevares,
Mine.
Olivia Navarro,
Yes,
No, no,
she's
it's Edward.
new. She's never done.
and then the city manager.
City manager.
Since I didn't have a hand in choosing that, I'm not sure if I have
to sponsor Alex Miranda to go, being that I'm not.
I mean, we can go, I mean, he's technically glorious, we do get a chance to replace him.
I don't know if
I
you
don't know if you are going to approve it.
I mean, yeah, that's fine, if you guys wanna send that, and the two new commissioners, Miranda and Olivia, Mrs. Rodarte went last year instead of Mr. Northwood, he knows coming in anyway, so we're good with that. So can we go ahead and make that motion then to approve the two new commissioners, Mr. Miranda and Ms. Navarro, please? No, but that's what they're requesting to go ahead and send.
Oh, okay, so we're eliminating Olivia?
No, we're keeping
No.
Olivia,
Okay.
the two new ones, and Mr. Miranda, that's four.
Miranda.
And so the senior staff can't go, neither Mr. Rodarte nor Mr. Norfolk, correct?
Right, they've already gone through this meeting.
Well, I have an issue. These, I think that, we need to send somebody to keep an eye on our commissioners. I mean, it's not to babysit them and stuff, but, we've heard, that some of the commissioners would take their family members and use it as a vacation. So I want something to be in writing to say that if you do that, if you caught doing that, you will pay us back. Because this is not a vacation. This is something that, you're going for the city. So I personally, myself, when I go and I bring everything that I learned. I'm not there for a vacation. I'm not there to take my family, go sightseeing afterwards. I'm there to work for the city. I expect our commissioners to do the same. So if we catch any of our commissioners, I think that they should be responsible and pay us back if they're gonna use it as a vacation.
And may I add, just, I know where you're coming from, and I understand what you're saying. But in the past, and it's been a past practice, we would allow our civil service commission, or from, us, whatever, council members, to take our families, provided we pay our expense for our families. And, if what was done in the past is if they, instead of an airplane ticket, we would allow that money to pay for their gas to go back and forth. In other words, we would pay for their mileage, I guess, or their gas consumption. I know you're talking about the concerns that you have. I do agree with them, the concerns that you have. We have to be careful there too.
I think that's easy to solve, just on the front end, ask those that are going, whether they intend to take their family members. And then that way, they sign off that yes, I will, and no, I won't. And then it'll take care of itself if that. So I think that just by signing off.
Having them acknowledged.
Well, see, the way that I see it, and I mean, whenever you go to a conference, whether you go by yourselves or with Mr. Norfolk or with the commissioners, I mean, it's really on the honor system if you go to the actual trainings or not. I mean, we can send Mr. Norfolk, you can send him to go to this other session, you don't go at all. So I don't have an issue, with them taking their families if that's what they choose, as long as they don't use the funds that are given to them to pay for other expenses. If they want to take their family and go off on their own time to go do whatever they want to do, I mean, that's great, take your family along. Just make sure that you go to the trainings. And just like us, if I go by myself, I don't take my family, there's nobody there to say, oh, the mayor went here, or Mr. Cox went over there. That's not the honor system. We're sending you to learn, and hopefully we have commissioners that are selected by our council members who understand how important these trainings are, and they will go to the trainings.
And besides that, you can't control someone after 5. That's their time, And the only thing is that I also see it from a liability issue. This is just me. Maybe I'm totally off. If you take family members and it's an official city business, God forbid there's an accident or something. And so I'd like to know on the front end if they intend. Whether they do or not, that's up to them. But I'd like to know if they're going to be taking the family.
And I think we can even create a waiver.
Yeah, the only thing they think the family say, well, pay for the families,
Yeah.
The only thing that we're providing is for themselves. Honestly, there's only thing that we pay for the families.
Alright, so are we good with that motion then to send the two new commissioners, Mrs. Navarro and Mr. Miranda? Will that be your motion?
Commissioners,
Yes.
Mr. Miranda,
Yes.
that's three,
Yes.
and those three only?
And Ms. Navarro?
Oh, Ms. Navarro.
Yes. She is HR secretary and she hasn't had this training before.
Well, she's the civil service.
Yeah.
secretary, so.
Alright, so clearly make that motion?
Yes.
Do we have a second? Second. Motion made by Mrs. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Gandara. Any further discussion on this?
I still say that if the city pays for them, they're still city considered city.
Well, you can come up with a policy if you choose to, the first day of your meeting, and we can instill a policy, for that reason, because that would be before the trip. The meeting is in February 5th.
That'll work.
Let me just add to Mr. Rodriguez's concerns. I understand your concern, Mr. Rodriguez. And there needs to be an understanding that if they're gonna take the families, that's on their
And that's why.
their responsibility, and it releases, maybe there should be a release. If they intend to take the family, there should be a release, they sign the city report saying, I will not hold city responsible for anything that happens to my family on this. But that's
I mean, exactly, we have a trouble policy.
But we can apply this now. That's what I'm saying, Mr. Rodriguez, we can apply this now. If any of these individuals want to take the family members, they'll have to sign a release saying they don't hold city support responsible.
Jim, you okay with that?
Can we do that?
To have a release that says if you're, makes it specific, if you're going to take a family member, that who won't be held liable, the city won't be held liable for what?
If anything happens, or any accident, they fall, anything like that. Because they're going on city business, and if they turn around and say, well, you know, I'm on city business and I got injured or whatever, I'm gonna sue the city, well,
Yeah.
we wanna make sure that doesn't happen.
It works for adults.
Not for children.
Yeah, for children, it's always problematic. It's very difficult under Texas law to have a prospective release of injuries to a minor. You can have the city, you can make the city employee indemnify you, but that's hard to enforce against someone's judgment.
So how would we be able to allow a commissioner to take his family?
You can make it time for the adults, and you can make it time for the children, but like Jim says, if something happens to the children, I mean, it's,
And yeah, I guess my thought is the release and the indemnity agreement, the release is not effective as a children, the indemnity agreement is probably not worth much unless you have a person signing it who's capable of paying. Having said that, then probably just because they went to the seminar to accompany their uncle or husband or father or mother who is going on city business doesn't mean they're going on city business. I don't think there's much exposure to the city.
thank you, Jim.
Will you be sending Mr. Rockwell or someone on Metro?
All right, so we have a motion and a second.
Okay, Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Fine.
Mr. Navarro? Mr. Powell?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Rodriguez? Yes, motion passed.
All right, with number 11, Jim, I have a question. Can we go ahead and do this one first, since there are several items on the agenda that relate to finances? So should we take care of those first and then include those into this public hearing, or can we call it first and then just say add this to the publication or whatever? Yes. For sure, we get it first.
No, the way I read it, the way I read it, the items that are in the budget amendment, that's separate from finance items that are on this agenda, right?
Well, yes, no, there's some that are being introduced by the chief that are on the budget, and some that are being introduced by certain council members that are not included on the budget.
That's what I was asking.
The answer is yeah, yes, you can.
So we can wait until they're passed or not, and then go ahead and bring this back.
You certainly can, you don't have to, you can go ahead and introduce this. You might have to make some changes on the fly at the second reading, or you might have to start over again with a new introduction, but you can do it now. If you choose to put one.
So we can go ahead and call it now, and then just add if there are any changes to go ahead and be included for the second hearing.
There's a whole body of law that you can always delete stuff.
You can.
If you're gonna add stuff, if it's material you probably can't, you need to come back and have a new introduction.
So on this one, Mr. Norfleet, if the items are approved, could we add them on to the second budget amendment in the next quarter?
In fact, I think most of the items are included. If some of the items fail tonight, it will be taken off.
Okay.
In the case of the guns or those sort of things.
That's the safe way to do it.
All right.
It's easier to delete than add.
Okay, sounds good then. Thank you, Jim. So number 11, introduction, first reading, and calling for a public hearing of ordinance 346, amendment number 1, an ordinance of the city of Socorro, Texas, adopting an amended budget to increase fiscal year 2015 adopted budget. All right, do we have a motion on this?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion made by Mrs. Rodriguez, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Rodriguez. Any discussion, Mrs. Rodriguez? All right, we're good.
Okay. Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Navarro?
Aye.
Mr. Powell? And Ms. Rodriguez? Yes, motion passed.
Moving on to the finance department, number 12, Discussion action approving the updated purchasing policy. Do we have a motion on this?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion made by Mr. Rodriguez, seconded by Mrs. Rodriguez to approve this item. Any discussion, Mr. Rodriguez? Anybody else? All right.
Mr. Pettis?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Guerrero?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Solis? Motion passes.
Item number 13, discussion action approving the updated travel policy. Do we have a motion on this? We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion made by Mrs. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Rodriguez. Any discussion, Mrs. Rodriguez?
No.
Anybody else?
Okay. Mr. Pettis?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Guerrero?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Solis? Motion passes.
Item number 14, discussion action approving the engagement letter with White Samaniego and Campbell LLP for fiscal year 2014 audit. Do we have a motion on this?
Motion.
Do we have a second? You can also bring in the discussion here.
We can.
Yeah, for discussion.
All right, we have a motion made by Mrs. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Rodriguez. Any discussion, Mr. Rodriguez? Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes. Don't we have to send this out for RFQ?
That's what I was thinking. Oh, putting on the backup, I read that it's like, thank you, I don't know if it's an old one or this one, but it's a thank you for selecting us, blah, blah, but I don't know if we actually sent it out or just brought them back again.
Well, we did go out for bid last year, and so we selected them, and I think the bid is good for a term of 3 years.
Okay.
Okay, this is one in there.
So we're just shooting to basically keep them in.
Yes.
All right, anybody else?
Good.
All right.
Mr. Pettis?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Guerrero?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Solis? Motion passes.
Okay, Karina. Moving on to the Human Resources Department. Discussion action on the Civil Service Commission recommendation to approve employee handbook provisions.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion made by Mrs. Rodriguez. We have a
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Rodriguez. Any discussion, Mrs. Rodriguez?
Is there any typos?
Right, this is mostly like the civil service ordinance that we had, where it was mostly just typos and making sure everything's straight, no major actual changes to it. Any other questions on this? Right?
Okay. Mr. Pettis?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Guerrero?
Aye.
Mr. Cox? And Ms. Solis? Motion passes.
Moving on to the police department. Discussion action to allow the Socorro Police Department to purchase Glock Model 22.40 caliber handguns in order for the department to have a one-weapon system and for them to be compatible in the event of a shooting incident. The cost is $9,200. Do we have a motion on this?
Let me say something.
Well, we can call the motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I will second it, so for discussion purposes.
All right, we have a motion to approve made by Mr. Pettis, seconded by Mr. Cox. Any discussion, Mr. Pettis?
I'd like to hear the.
Before you go, Mr. Yonda has.
Mayor, sorry, we do have some speakers.
Okay.
I have a question. I know that we have a policy in place in regards to the firearms the officers can carry. This policy's been in place for a long time, and it's my understanding that you always shoot better with your gun, with your personal gun. And since we are some of the highest paid police officers, rounding off at about $42,000 a year, our officers are capable of purchasing a Glock 40. And allocating $9,000 would be better reserved in some other area. Like, I have a question directly to you, Mr. Maldonado. How many bathrooms do you have in RBS?
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, if you need me again, Carlos Maldonado, your chief for Socorro Police Department. We have one.
For people being held, waiting to be transferred to the county, and for our police officers?
That's correct.
Go ahead. Continue with the presentation.
Would you like me
I want
to
to
elaborate or add to that?
But I think his point is that we can use the money elsewhere. So go ahead and Mr. Pettis asked for the presentation and to Mr. Thomas in general.
Yes, members of the City Council, Honorable Mayor, thank you so much for the opportunity. You're absolutely right, Councilmember Gallagher. You can spend it elsewhere. That's certainly up to you. What I've been hired to do is to identify from an operational standpoint those areas where we absolutely need to fill the void this is avoided. If you know anything about any kind of strategic application of use of force, and if you're engaged in any sort of a gun battle, there is a propensity at some point to have a situation, and you can look historically, you can look at the situation in Paris, just as an example, where officers run out of ammunition. When that happens, and if you don't have a magazine available to you, you're going to have to rely on the officer next to you. And if they're carrying a firearm that is a different make, different caliber, guess what? It is not going to work. What we are doing here, the opportunity that we are simply providing to you is an opportunity to make a one-weapon system. Talk about liability. This reduces the liability. It gives the officers the ability to better protect the citizens in this community. What we're doing with the one-weapon system is the envy of every other agency in this region. And yes, we could purchase something else, but every agency that I have been with, we have purchased the firearms for our officers, for the sake of continuity, for the sake of officer safety, for better protection of the community. It accomplishes a number of things. Number one, consistency, one weapon system. You purchase one pallet of ammunition. Your nomenclature is consistent across the board. It gives the officer, again, the opportunity to pick up any weapon that any officer is using and to be able to pick it up and use it with a certain degree of proficiency. We're also developing a very robust firearm application or qualification program where we are going to put our officers through high-stress situations where they become even more proficient with that firearm. And again, at the end of the day, the goal of our objective is to help our officers become more proficient in using that tool to better protect our citizens.
And I do have a question for Mr. Perez to go ahead and make this comment. In regards to Mr. Hernandez said, do we let our officers buy anything for themselves to do their job here at the city of Socorro? Or certainly for any employer for that matter, do we make them buy their own?
As far as I know, the police department was required to purchase their own weapon as well as their own leather, is my understanding.
That is correct.
And so on this one, I agree with the chief. He's mentioned it before that we need to move into a one-weapon system. I think $9,200 is not a whole lot to help out that department do that, but I do want to say that with that, it would be a one-time purchase. We purchase the weapon for you, and if something happens to it, you lose it, from going forward, you should buy it yourself. And that way, we're holding them accountable to make sure that they take care of what is brought to them by the city.
No, that was just going to be my question. What is the standard practice when it comes to the Army officers and, to their point, the utility bill?
Well, and that's the point, and that's a very good point. One weapon system for the sake of consistency again. And if we learn anything, it's again with the escalating violence that's taking place across the country and across the world. We live across from the most dangerous city in the world. And granted, the level of violence has plateaued somewhat, but it's unpredictable and it's volatile. We have an obligation again to protect our community. And again, I'm coming in from the outside, but I have 33 years of law enforcement experience at all levels of the organization and chief from different organizations. I've been the chair for border issues for the Texas Chiefs of Police Association. I've spoken in Washington, D.C. at the White House on a variety of border issues. This is something we're trying to remedy across the board. We're going to be the envy of agencies in the region, I can assure you that.
Before Mr. Cox goes on, technically plummeted. Why does plummeted number 24? So.
Yes. Well.
This, having been in law enforcement, it's because this hit close to home, okay? And I made contact with a lot of police departments, El Paso, Horizon, and so others. And the cities, based on my past experience, the cities would always pay for the leather that you're talking about, the Sam Browns and so forth. Every officer was required to buy their own pistol. When the city of El Paso went from revolvers to wheel gun, when they went from revolvers to 9mm, every officer that wanted to go to 9mm was required to buy their own 9mm. Now they've gone to 40 and 45 calibers in that vicinity. I know because my son is a sergeant on the SWAT team up in the city of El Paso. So I asked him about the status of the pistol. Plus, I also spoke with some other individuals higher up in the city of El Paso. And they don't furnish the pistols to the automatic weapons to the officers. They make the officers buy them. And I'm in favor of the officer continuing to buy the revolver because it's their partner. They'll take better care, in my opinion, of something they have invested in. And I agree with you about the open season on police officers going on out there, this mentality that's going on out there. And I am, without jumping ahead, I am more in favor of the rifles for the officers and than I am for the pistols. And I feel that the revolvers, I was in revolver because I used revolver for so long and I feel that they'll take better care of the partner. They'll take better care of the pistol, other automatic. And you said in your backup, if I read it correctly, some of the officers are carrying different weapons as opposed to, that they're all carrying different weapons that they're not compatible with each other. Is that true?
Not 100%, but half. That's why we've only asked for 16.
Okay. I'm struggling with this because I know what it is to me to have my own umbrella. I've been in a couple of shootouts. I had to depend on my weapon. And you're right about not having been able to swap ammunition with your partner. So I'm struggling with this. But I feel that an officer would take care of his partner a lot better if he owned and invested in that revolver.
If I can respectfully and please with all due respect, because I know you walk the walk, and I know that. I respectfully disagree with you in that regard, because once that assignment is made and we issue that firearm to that officer, guess what? That's his. That is his. That is his responsibility. We have inspections on a routine basis. It's like in the military, they don't purchase their own weapons, so guess what? They're required to take care of them. It's the same principle. In state police, they purchase the firearms for us. I think as a course of business, that's the least we can do for our officers. Plus, the other thing, and you mentioned this, the other agencies in this area, they don't purchase the weapons for their officers. What a wonderful marketing tool.
Chief, give me a second here. Mr. Rodriguez.
I had a couple of questions. There is a policy regarding which firearms they can carry, correct? It's directed to Mr. Norfolk.
Not exactly sure on the policy. I would defer to the chief for this particular manual.
I read the right policy. There is a policy regarding which firearms they can carry.
I am not certain if that's the case. I'll ask.
It's a 300-page book, though. It's okay. Go ahead.
To my understanding, there is a policy on which firearms they can carry. So simple. We can revisit this policy and put just Glock 40s, or what you're proposing. The Model 2240 caliber Glock. And now, all our officers from this point on, and we can even, maybe purchase the ones for the officers that don't have it, but I don't see why they couldn't get their own. We'll look into that. But from this point on, get all the officers, all the new inductees, to purchase a Glock 40. And now, we all carry the same ammunition. And like Mr. Cox said, it's my partner. I'm going to take care of it a lot. And with that being said, those $9,000, I'm sure these officers that have been here for several years would appreciate a bathroom separate from the people that are holding.
Well, give me a second, Chief. I think the real issue at hand is just whether you all want to approve the 9200 or not. I think we're all in agreement that we need to have a universal weapon system. And before Mr. Rodriguez goes on, Chief, can you let me know, we've approved several improvements to the department, the radios, the camera system, the evidence room. That has totaled more than $9,200, each separately, correct, if I'm not mistaken, correctly. So I really think that council needs to look at it and say, hey, we've approved purchases for the department for that total more than $9,200. Now, the rifles is a different story, 33, but whatnot. But they're asking us to provide them a service to go ahead and do their jobs, which is protect the citizens of Socorro. We have $9,200 that he's asking for. We have an item on the agenda later on where we're being asked to allocate over $1 million for a park, and yet we're discussing whether or not we should allocate 9,200 for our officers and protect our citizens. Mr. Rodriguez, go ahead.
Not already.
Go ahead, Mr. Reyes.
I have two comments. First, one is a question. What happens when an officer separates from the force? What happens to the gun at that point? If we were to purchase the guns for the police officers, what would happen once an officer separates from the organization?
Every agency that I've been with, we've done this. The firearm belongs to the department, to the city. That's an asset. It stays. So this purchase for this item is essentially a one-time purchase, unless we need a break, something happens down the road. But this is a one-time purpose. It remains with the organization. It's on our inventory. When the officer separates from the organization, he turns everything in, and we do a very thorough inventory, especially with firearms. That will remain with us. For the next officer, we fill the vacancies. These are assigned to them.
And then my second comment is, the logic in this would be no different than making the officers pay for the police cars. If they're patrolling the police cars, are we going to make them purchase a car and take care of it?
Anything to do with jobs, and we don't.
I mean,
we don't know there's any difference.
Yes, I think that in the course of what we want our city to be, I think that this is a small investment in the safety and security of our citizens.
I would like to talk to Mr. Norton and ask for his recommendation on it. I know you have to study this, and so I'm sure you've got something to say about it.
I'm in favor of the chief proposal, recommending that we go to a uniform pistol system. And if that's the model that he's recommending, I also agree that the city should finance that, because it is an asset. It's no different than on a very small scale. You come to work, some of us bring our own ink pens, sometimes we get some issues, sometimes we get paper. But as far as something of that magnitude, I think it's a good position to be in, to have those firearms as the city's fixed asset that we issue for people to work. I've been at...
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That's good. Chief, along with Mr. Perez is saying, I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with this because I also want to know what kind of security measure you have to protect the city in regards to this. If an officer loses, it's taken away from him, or whatever. He's separated from his weapon. Okay? He's separated from his weapon. Is that officer going to be held responsible for that weapon, no matter what? Because it is his part. I'm along those lines. And I understand this has happened where somebody could end up stealing his weapon from him. Well, that's lost. But there's times sometimes when an officer is careless and he uses a weapon on his own and misplaces it. Who's going to pay for that weapon?
It will be the officer's responsibility. This is nothing new that I haven't dealt with.
No, I know. That's why I'm asking. I want to
Yes,
inform her about
yes,
this.
and I apologize. Look, I've been in this business for 33 years. This is not new. What is new is to the region. This is a tremendous opportunity, the way I see it, because the other Horizon and some of the other communities are going to be very envious of our community. Now, why not set the tone? Why not be on the cutting edge and develop policy and move this organization in a very positive direction? That's what you're doing.
And let me ask you one more question along with caliber.
Yes, sir.
You said you want to do a 40 caliber.
That's correct.
A lot of departments are already going to 45 caliber. Some of the federal governments are going 45 caliber. What's the difference between 45 and 40?
Well, in Laredo, we were carrying 45s, and this was during the peak of a lot of the violence that was taking place. I wanted to transition to the 40 caliber. We were having a very difficult time finding 45 ammunition. Now, the other thing about that is, if you look across the border and you look at the various other agencies, Border Patrol, Customs, they're all carrying 40 caliber. Now, the issue that we ran into in Laredo, if we run out of 45 ammunition, we run out of 45 ammunition. I have nowhere else to get it. Here, other agencies are carrying 40 calibers as well.
Right.
I put a focus group to look at this matter. This is my recommendation. The focus group of officers within the organization, they looked at this issue. This is their recommendation that I am simply forwarding to you, but it makes sense. Tactical, from a liability aspect, any way you want to look at it, it makes sense to implement a one-weapon system.
Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Yamada.
I agree with Cox with the purchase of the weapons. I mean, but since we clarified that we are gonna keep them once they part ways, I think that, you know, we would really consider it because the issue that I had as well is what if a new candidate came in and then 6 months would transfer somewhere else? I mean, that was an issue that I had as well. You know, that if we were gonna go purchase them and then they would leave with the equipment after, that was an issue, but I mean, like I said, that was an issue, and you guys know.
Mr. Ganda and Mrs. Rodriguez.
Ms. Rodriguez can go first. She's been waiting for a while.
Thank you. As one of the people that knows less is also about weapons, do they need special training for these weapons? Are they going to provide them, and how long will they train in these weapons, and also the rifles?
We will provide transition training, but keep in mind, the training could be a 40-hour week, or it could be a 20-hour course, which I've already been through the 20-hour course for the AR-15 or the M4.
And now we'll be asking the same question for the rifles.
Yes, we do make sure there's key qualification requirements. You have to have a certain level of proficiency, or else you can't carry the firearm. We're very careful about that. I have some trained officers who are ex-tactical members from El Paso PD. Look, they're very diligent. They know what they're doing. We're raising the bar here. That's exactly what we're doing. We're making sure that our officers, number one, we have policies and procedures that dictate when it's brought out. It's not going to be brought out just to simply bring it out. There has to be certain elements that have to exist before the officer uses it. I understand the issue with militarizing law enforcement agencies. I've been in that discussion in Washington, D.C. about the issue across the country. That's not what this is about. This is about providing officers with the proper equipment and the proper tools to best protect our community. That's the bottom line.
In the past, I've been known to be pro-police department.
Well, we hope you maintain that position.
I also see liability. I mean, if they're not very well trained, things can happen.
Absolutely. And I agree with that.
You know,
We will make sure. The other thing too that I just want to simply add as a footnote, they remain with the Glock firearm because although they were carrying different types, number one, it's affordable. It's easy to manipulate. It's easy to work with. I already have folks that are going to be going to the Glock Armorers Training Program. So equipping and taking care of the firearm is going to be at a minimal cost, if not absolutely free, because it's very affordable. It's a durable, very good, dependable firearm. Plus the other officers, they carry Glocks, but they're different calibers. So they're already familiar with the nomenclature. When you talk about the familiarity, absolutely. So that's why we're maintaining that consistency.
All right, Mr. Ganda, Mr. Costa, the final word, please.
This proposition is so that our officers are better equipped to perform the job. Correct? Absolutely. So we do have a policy, and we can adjust that policy to where they all carry the Glock 40. But another question is, have we approached Mr. Alage in regards to, are there any grants available on this?
We've looked. I will tell you, the federal government right now is really frowning upon purchasing firearms. I've looked. I work very closely with the COPS program in Washington, D.C. In Laredo, and not to compare Laredo to Socorro, but I'm just simply telling you, I've been down that road before. Those programs are done. Right now, they're looking at community-oriented policing programs. That's what their focus is. They're not really funding or supporting. Now, even the military program at Fort Bliss, where they were using some of the surplus and giving it to law enforcement agencies, they're frowning upon the firearms. It's just not available anymore. Just in view of the different events that have taken place across the country, there's a lot of skepticism as well. They basically feel that that responsibility falls upon a local governing body.
Mr. Cox.
You know what, I'm glad we had this discussion because, like I said, I was struggling with it. I just wanted to understand, you said 16 Glocks.
Correct.
As we get more recruits, and there's, what are we, 22 officers on the street?
22.
22, and that those 6 already have their own, right? Is that what you're saying? You're saying 22 officers in one city, and you only want
Correct.
16 guns?
The remaining officers have the 40 caliber, they may be carrying a 35, a Glock 35, maybe not the 22, but it is compatible with what we are purchasing.
Right, okay, so, I just wanted, if we do this purchase, Chief, what I'm getting at is, if the officer chooses to take instead of using his own weapon, his own Glock that meets the standards, and if he wants to take one of the city's pistols, whatever, I keep saying pistols, but I'm in the old school, automatics, then they need to sign a waiver that they understand that anything happens to that weapon, they're responsible for it. And if they should, and to answer the question, Mr. Rodriguez, if they use a weapon because of carelessness, and they leave or they take that weapon with them, their last check or whatever is going to be responsible to pay for that weapon. I just want to make sure that it's understood.
Absolutely, and Councilmember Cox has done that in the past.
Okay.
That's a non-issue, that goes with the territory.
Good.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion to approve.
Can I
We had a speaker there.
I apologize, one last question that Mr. Mayor. I was looking at the distributors, are we part of the buy board for the weapons and ammunition?
Yes, sir, I did check. Were we able to discuss it? Were we able to verify that? GT distributors?
Yeah, they're on the back.
And I did check because I used it before in the past. I used it with state police when I was with New Mexico and also in Laredo. Same distributors. Texas DPS just purchased from GT distributors, so they are on the list. Yes.
All right, and you said we do have speakers.
Yes.
Okay, so before we take the vote, thank you. See you later.
Albert Cole?
For item number 16.
Well, after hearing Councilman was talking about, I signed more with Mr. Cox as far as and I heard you say, you buy something, you take care of it more. Meaning that it's like a regular Joe, you really show up an import to a Joe, more than likely he's going to be losing all the time. I feel that a police officer would take care of his own property more than when it's just handed to him. I see both sides of the issue. I mean, liability and all that. I mean, our police force is one of the highest paid police forces on the county, right? I mean, if we want to go to the route where the city starts purchasing the blocks, then so be it. Okay, but okay, let's reduce that pay. Let's reduce the pay from 42,000. How much is the Glock? Do we know how much a Glock is? Chief? About 400. 400. Let's reduce that. Also training. A lot of the officers have different. There's no reason. I see both sides. If there's a policy that says, okay, from now on, you need to purchase out of your own pocket, you need to purchase a 40 caliber weapon that fits this animal. So be it. There's different ways of addressing it. And to me, at first, I'll be honest with you, I was love of us hearing Mr. Cox, Anthony, Mr. Rodriguez, and Victor. I mean, the decision is yours, but ultimately, there could be both ways.
Okay, anybody else? Those are all the speakers. Those are all the speakers? Can we take a vote then? Yes. I have a motion made by Mr. Bettis, second by Mr. Cox to approve.
Excuse me, Council, can I interrupt? Karina, the buy board that the GT is on, we're a member of that buy board?
This is the state and the state board, the buy board that's on the state contract.
The
And
need,
we do pay our annual fees, $100 for these feeders for
And-
this year.
I didn't think the new purchasing policy addressed buy boards, does it?
It does,
Our internal one?
yes.
Okay.
Chief, one last question, please. No, I know, but I need to ask you because I want to make sure. We're going to in budget 16 right now, and are we making allowances for next year for, as our department grows? As our officers come on board, more officers come on board as the city grows, are we gonna make allowances to purchase them weapons too?
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Cox. Well, this is the way I would work it. My request for any additional FTEs or additional manpower would certainly be a proposal that I would sit and work with Mr. Northfield before. If he would approve it, and once we work through it, the accompanying budget would allocate for the additional FTEs. So the additional firearms that need to be purchased would be a part of that proposal.
So it's on the same motion, or do we change it?
Same motion.
All right, so anybody else on that one? Any other speakers?
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Guerrero?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
I just have to add that I think we're setting a good precedence here for the rest of the city, for the police departments within the area. I think we need to go, yes.
And Mr. Lewis?
With the proper training and information, we really will know those cases that they will not be in danger of themselves.
Yes,
Motion passes.
All right, moving on to item number 17. Discussion and action to allow the Socorro Police Department to purchase Bushmaster 83 M4 rifles for every police officer. This will enhance our officers' capacity to protect our community members. The cost is $33,000. So motion on this?
Motion to approve the decision.
That's a second. We have a motion made by Mrs. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Cox. Any discussion, Mrs. Rodriguez?
Yes, and yet I am concerned with those rifles because how long are they going to train the officers for these rifles? What's the training, what's the length of training?
Councilmember Rodriguez, we have just finished, I went through it. It was a 20-hour program, a proficiency program. And the only way that an officer is allowed to carry a firearm is if he qualifies under the TCO standards. Standards are very strict. You have to qualify, you have to go through that training program. It doesn't end there. We continue with levels of proficiency. What we have planned, and Officer Moore's put a very robust training program together. What we will do the next level is indoctrinate into a stress program where we will run our officers through a tactical course, which will include using your sidearm and the long rifle. So it's in simulated situations where stress is raised, so that we're really putting our officers through the test.
And again, how long is the training?
The training for that particular program could be an hour. But it's
An hour?
Yes, but it's ongoing because it's a shooting course. It's a course of firing. That's part of the training program, again, to establish a certain level of proficiency. But it's ongoing. So every month, every other month, we will have a qualification program. Now understand this, TCO only requires, once they go through the transition, once they go through the qualification program, one qualification a year is all they require. That's TCO qualification. We're surpassing that exponentially. We're making sure. And again, this is across the board. Texas DPS, they carry their long rifles. El Paso PD, they have long rifles. Every agency has long rifles. Who else has long rifles? Cartels, adversaries.
Can you explain more about the weapon? Like the range? I really don't know too much about weapons, so I would want more information.
And I appreciate that. I'm going to try to explain without giving too much. If that even makes sense, because I don't want to address one.
You just like Google it, center?
Yes.
I mean,
It's a 223 round. It has a 30 round capacity in the magazine. The rifle, for the training purposes, at 100 yards. And the reason why we're really looking at this is a potential threat out there. If you look at active shooters, just as an example, if we had...
And don't tell me anything that you're...
No, and that's what I'm trying to be careful with. But if you look at the school shootings across the country, we look at the hallways. We train at 25 yards with a sidearm. Anything beyond that, if you look at the school hallways, they're a lot longer. They're a lot longer than 25 yards. So with any degree of proficiency you need a long rifle. That's why we're implementing, indoctrinating that long rifle into our toolbox, if you will. Every agency has it. We're behind the curve, and we need to catch up.
Mr. Governor.
A rifle of this caliber, is going to be our officer has to use the rifle, misses his target. How far will a round of this caliber travel through a neighborhood like ours? The neighborhoods that we have here in Socorro, they're mainly homes made out of stucco and trailers.
It depends on the backstop. If it's a dirt berm, it ends right there. If it's an adobe wall, it'll end right there. If it's a hollow wall with no insulation or nothing in between, it'll probably travel through two walls. The caliber of the weapon, the firearm, the bullet that we use, it doesn't have a lot of power, right? It doesn't penetrate endlessly. That's why we're using a particular round. So even with that rifle, if it has extended capacity, the round that we're using doesn't have the penetration of one that will continue going. We're very careful with that. And it's an industry standard. We're using the type of fire, type of bullet or projectile that other agencies are using across the board. And it's a recommendation to IECP and other programs.
So how far would it travel?
In an open space, they travel a lot, close space.
You could, look, you fire that firearm, you can easily go 700 yards.
In an open space, without, in open space, without
Yes.
stopping.
Yes, and it just depends on what it hits. It could hit something, you know.
So if
and
it's
it's
a trailer,
right there.
will they go through?
It'll go through a trailer.
Mr. Cross?
Chief, help me here, Chief, please. If we're, I'm in favor of buying a rifle for you, okay, let's just get it straight right now. I know because we need the added firepower, and I'm okay with this. But you're asking for $33,000 worth of rifles here,
Yes.
which is equivalent to what, how many rifles again, sir? I don't have that.
How many rounds are you saying?
There'll be 30 rifles.
30 rifles.
Yes, because the others for the straps that we're using, and the case.
Okay, well, the bottom line is, I know that there is a need for the rifles. I had no qualms about that at all. I know that our police officers need to have the additional firepower when they're out there, and they're in a situation where they have to break out the rifles. I understand that. There are going to be situations where they're not going to be needed, and they won't take them out, right, being having been a police officer. But because of the cost here, I know when I was talking to the chief of police from Rising City, and he said he helped out his council. He got the rifle he wanted. He helped out his council with the expense by taking, they asked for 20. 1 year he got 5, make sure he got another 5, and make sure he got another 5 so he can distribute the cost. And you're going to have to train your officers with these rifles anyway. How many units do you have on the 2 shifts? How many units do you have on the streets at one time?
We usually have, depending on the shift, about 5.
5. So if we, let's say we purchase 5 rifles this year or 6 rifles this year, you could have officers that are trained and proficient in those rifles on one shift, and have 3 rifles, and another shift would have the other 3 rifles. What I'm trying to say is, there's always somebody who's going to have access to a rifle in case they get into a situation where they need.
I guess what Mr. Cox is saying, I think I agree with that. You shouldn't even know, but we'll get to that right now. I guess my main question is, if you buy one for every officer, when they're not here, they won't be using them. You know, if you only have 10 people out there at one time, that means you have 20 rifles over in storage which are not being used. So if we go ahead and purchase for the units that we actually have, wouldn't that minimize the cost and still have the officers that are out there using the rifle that you're requesting from us, rather than buying all 30 of them, knowing very well that at one time we won't have 3 officers out there, and if we go ahead and diminish the purchase, we can still give each officers out there at their respective time a rifle, instead of just having it there.
I'm pretty well put. Thank you.
Well, you had made the issue earlier The thing that's unique about the rifles, they're sighted to each individual officer. So we have left-handers, and they may be strong left eye. And they may be sighted to that. We don't know. So if we pick up that rifle and we use it, and I'm strong on dominant right eye, the sight's gonna be off. So you run that risk. And what the chief did in Horizon, that was the Band-Aid. What I'm asking you here is, this is an opportunity again for purchasing a rifle for each officer. It's sighted for each officer, because every officer is unique. Every officer has a different sight alignment, and it's sighted into that individual officer. And that's what we're trying to address.
I have a question for you, Mr. Morona. Chief Morona. What they were really referring as to how far, he's talking about what's the max effective range of the rifle. And the concern is about our community around, just in case there is a firefight in a situation. That's what they want to know. They want to know the effective range of the weapon. Not how far it travels.
I will tell you the conditions of the community in which we live in is well suited for a long rifle, just because of the openness. There is a lot of open area. The other thing too is that we train up to 100 yards for proficiency with the firearm. So that's the training, the 100 yard.
Okay.
I want to carry it further than that, but that's what we're want.
I'm in agreement with Mr. Cox and Mr. Luis. We don't need training. And I understand the situation like you're saying, but truth be said is, Mr. is correct. It's an issue. Mr. Hernandez is correct. This is an issue. Because if one of our officers misses, and then the end result is somebody else gets hurt, that liability might fall on us. And to me, you can't put a price on the line.
That's correct. You're absolutely right. I agree with that.
And so I agree with the rifle, because you're right. Situations might arise. They haven't happened so far, but they might arise. And maybe officers should be trained more than just qualifying. Maybe they should go through that test twice a year, 3 times a year.
Qualify twice a year.
Qualify twice a year, and train them a little bit more, because it is scary that they're firing a weapon of this caliber, and you could easily go through a training and hit somebody. You could easily go through a strip club.
Chief, going on what Mr. Cox said on the fact that we could purchase them over time, number here, number there. What if we do half this year, half next? You would still have 15 rifles instead of 30, and then for next fiscal year, which technically it begins in October. So by the end of this calendar year, you would have your full arsenal ready. We wouldn't have to buy them all at once. We can buy them now with this current fiscal year, and then once the next fiscal year starts later this year, we can go ahead and buy the remaining. That's something that we look into.
Let me ask you, purchasing 15 rifles as opposed to 30 rifles. People that we purchase it from, will they give us a bigger discount for having volume of rifles as opposed to the 15?
No, sir. It's the same price. It's the same price. Mayor, if I can just elaborate a little bit here. You made a very good point. What's the cost of a rifle? And I continue, we are all subject matter experts of our own lives. We come from different perspectives because we have different life experiences. What I have before you is a proposal based on my professional assessment and analysis on the needs of the organization. This wasn't made in a vacuum. It wasn't made in the dark. This is for 33 years of law enforcement experience. And you're asking me to compromise. I cannot compromise on my officer safety. And you're asking me, well, can we look at other purchases, other options? I won't make that decision. The decision that I have made is a proposal that I have submitted before you. If you want to make any other modifications to that, then that's your prerogative. But if you're asking for my professional opinion, this is it.
Well, Chief, I have a final question for you. I'm going to touch really quick. This being brought to us in January. The fiscal year started in October. We had budget talks September, Mr. Northley with his staff came and brought to us a budget, you know, and I'm wondering why this wasn't brought up beforehand. So if you did, I mean, you come here and you can clearly tell they don't have rifles. It might be a good idea to go ahead and maybe ask for rifles and see what happens. And that's just my question is that we've been at this for a couple of months now. And if this was a huge necessity, as you were saying it is, then why is it being brought up now instead of earlier?
Honorable Mayor, I'm surprised they didn't have to bring it up to you. I'm surprised this wasn't addressed years ago, because it's been addressed years ago with other organizations. We're behind the curve. When I came in, I was looking at operational capacity. I was looking at, you know what, are we analyzing crime data? Are we doing a statistical analysis? Are we leveraging resources where they need to go? Where are we in terms of operational capacity? What's our manpower like? And then we started getting into, well, what kind of resources do we have? You each have to purchase your own firearms? Okay, well, have you all thought about AR-15s or M4s? Let me see them. What are you talking about, Chief? We don't have them. And I said, what do you mean we don't have them? We need to put a focus group together so that we can do an internal assessment. It takes time. Quite frankly, I was surprised and appalled that we didn't already have these items. This is way after the fact, and I agree with you, and maybe timeliness is an issue, but I'm bringing it to your attention so that we can deal with it right now, get it out of the way, because next year it's going to be another matter that we're going to need to address. This problem will not go away.
Thank you,
The
President.
threat on the border is here, and it will not change.
See, let me just ask one last question, sir. I know for a fact that some of your officers are already carrying rifles. Do you have a policy on the rifle carrier?
Not right now. We do. They better not be carrying it.
Are
Are you telling me they are?
I'm telling you they are.
Who are they?
You just said putting it
I'm
away
not
from
gonna tell you.
everyone.
I'm not.
Find out, because that's
If you want to
violation.
if you want to tell me you're going to say that, discuss the thing.
I will.
Now, here's what I'm proposing to you, sir. I'm in favor of the rifles. Do you or do you not want the rifles, sir?
I do want
Yes,
to.
you do want, okay. We also have a budget constraints. We also have issues that we have to spend money on. I'm all in favor of saying, okay, you want 30 rifles? Here's 15 now. Next fiscal year, you get another 15. You're getting what you want. Why are you compromising that?
You're asking me.
Because, hold
You're
on,
asking
hold on,
me.
hold on.
This is
I was
what
on
I'm
the street
told.
too, sir. I was on the street too. Please
Absolutely.
understand, okay? I'm coming from your world, sir, okay? So all I'm saying to you, and I'm not trying to belittle you or embarrass you or anything like that, sir. I'm sitting there saying, we also have money constraints also that we need to work with. And I'm in favor of the rifle thing. Take the 15 now and let's go to the 15 later next year. I think everybody here will work with that.
Honorable Mayor, Councilman Cox, look, I understand fiduciary responsibility. I'm not new to government. I know exactly what it's all about. I know also the budget. The budget is there. The issue is here. I want to address it now and move it out of the way and be done with it, so that it is a non-issue, so that we don't have to visit next fiscal year. It's done and we put it away. It's a non-issue. This is an officer safety issue. And I want to get it taken care of, and I want to make sure the matter is resolved and we move on.
Last one before we move on, Chief, and I want to, again, because of my rationale again, we have coming up a report by Mr. Lobdell of the streets that we have in Socorro that should be paved. Now, we have close to 60, 50 streets that are rated between a 4 and a 5, which are the worst in Socorro. Now, his recommendation, I talked to Mr. Northley about this, of course, and the sense is always, it's great to say, we're going to pay 60 in this coming year, but are you really going to get to those 60 this year? You know, it's always about what you can actually do, you know, and with Mr. Lobdell, the recommendation he's given us is basically to split it over a couple of years. And again, to me, it's just, we understand the issue, we know what the problems are with the streets, but we can't tell Mr. Lobdell and his crew, go ahead and pay 60 streets this year because we need them now. You know, just like there are public safety issues with the police officers, there are also issues with the safety of our roads. People can drive on one of them, get a flat tire, cause an accident, things like that. But we can't invest all of our resources into 1 year because it just can't be done that way. And I think that I thank you for coming up and asking us for resources for your officers. I appreciate the fact that you are lobbying for them as hard as you are. It shows that you are dedicated and you have their best interests at heart. Now, I do ask you that council make a decision, and if they choose to make the full amount now, or decide to split it up, then like Mr. Cox says, we are giving you what you want, maybe partially, maybe not all at once, but we do agree with you on that.
Mayor, honorable council members, we're going to march, and I
Juan Luis. Albert Flores.
What's the motion on the table? I don't want to amend it, just. So you make the motion.
Last year, or a couple of years
Your
ago,
name, please, for the
Albert
record.
Flores.
Thank you.
Last year, or a couple of years ago, we had an influx of small children coming from south of the border. We had an issue when the governor wanted to militarize our border. So now you're asking us, the chief is asking us to militarize our police against our constituents, against the citizens. Like, your concerns are firefighter. This year right here on Rio Vista, Sanchez and Middle School down there. An officer misses. The bullet flies 300 meters. 300 meters down the road. Takes a kid. Training doesn't take a 40-hour week, 20 hours. It takes years. Years. So, again, I ask you, sports. If any veteran here will tell you what sports means. Can these officers tell you what sports means? Probably the veterans, but anybody else? He says firefight the border, okay, perform sports in a stressful environment. Sports. Slap, pull, observe, release, tap, squeeze. That's sports. I bet you knew that, right? It's simple. We can't be asking, we can't militarize our police when we don't even want to militarize our border. A lot of us are opposed to it. I'm opposed to this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else? All right, so we have a motion to go ahead and approve and second. We can vote it no, we can vote it no. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Perez?
Reread the motion, please.
The motion was to approve the retreat as what I amended.
But I want to amend it to 15.
Oh, you want to go ahead?
No, but we have to act on the motion that you already made.
Well, Mrs. Rodriguez, who made the motion, Mrs. Rodriguez?
I did.
She can go ahead and amend her motion to say either 15 or she can keep it and keep 30 that they're asking for. It's up to you.
So you want to withdraw your motion, is what you're saying? You're withdrawing your motion? Okay, she's withdrawing her motion.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so I want to make a motion that we go ahead and purchase these Bushmaster A3 M4 rifles for the police department. I'm making a motion that we purchase 15 of them at this time for the police department, with the understanding that there will be another additional 15 purchased in the next fiscal year. So
Just second. We have a motion made by Mr. Cox, seconded by Mr. Rodriguez to go ahead and approve the motion, the request of 15 instead of the full 30.
Motion made by Mr. Cox and seconded by Mr. Rodriguez, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
No.
Okay. Mr. Rodriguez? Mr. Banda?
No.
Mr. Cox?
yes.
And Mr. Rodriguez. I'm nervous about that training, so I would like to say.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, moving on to item number 18. Public Works Department, presentation regarding annual streets report.
Fire department's getting
What are you doing?
Everybody come. Chief. The sides, why are we not on the sides?
The room is clean.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Lopez.
Do I need the mouse? I wasn't tracked.
There you go. Señor Pepe, dos de las calles de esa Se trata de las Go ahead. Yeah, that's the one for the streets. All right.
Honorable Mayor, Council.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lopez. Good evening.
Buenas tardes.
As you
to you about the annual streets report for a while. I gave you a preliminary report a little over a month ago. I did give Mr. Norfleet the final report the first week in January, and I'd like to present that to you now. This report is required by city ordinance. Thankfully, the council approved changing the date to 1st of January. It works a whole lot better this time of year. We have more time available to go out and actually evaluate the streets. Two of the districts were looked at by our excellent supervisor, Mr. Rosas, and I looked at two of the districts using these criteria. With the best streets being one in great condition, and stuff that urgently needs repaving, 5, with the other categories in between. To start off, I just want to give you all an overview of exactly where we are with the streets of the city. Quite a few streets, 474 streets, and 93% of those are paved right now. As you know, some of those are maintained by others, and I would like to correct something that was in the written report that you got. I learned something myself here in the last week, that you should not assume that just because TxDOT maintains part of a street and it's building.
Hold on a second. Chief, can we have at least one officer stay here?
Yeah, we're going to just do
Okay. They're all
Just because TxDOT maintains Upper Horizon and is working on Lower Horizon doesn't mean they're going to maintain Lower Horizon. So there was an error in the report that you saw. TxDOT will not be taking over Lower Horizon after they complete the construction up there. That will remain city responsibility, at least for the near term. There were not a whole lot of streets that were in really, really bad condition, and I think you were aware of the worst neighborhood, McAdoo. Most of those Condition 5 streets over there in that neighborhood, there's only 4 that are actually in other neighborhoods right now. And I would also like to correct myself in this part of the report. I was asked to go back and reevaluate a street, Regina. Regina's in 2 parts. It's a broken street with a field in the middle of it. And I only looked at one side. That was kind of a 3.5, could be called a 4. The other end of Regina, the part that intersects with Horizon, is clearly a 5. That's not noted on that report. And the cost of doing Regina would only add about a little over $20,000 to the financial picture here. To do all the Condition 5 streets, a little over $300,000, and that's using the data that we collected this past year on the paving projects. It's actually about $83,600 per street is what we're using here, or per mile. If we exclude McAdoo, exclude the part of McAdoo that's already completed, and look at what it would cost to finish McAdoo that we have not yet paved, a little over $124,000 there. Complete all the Condition 4 streets, and there, as you see, there's a lot more of those, 42 across the whole city, over $900,000. To do all the 4s and 5s, $1.25 million. I hope you've had a chance to look at the more detailed report that I gave you. This is just a summary, and I'm certainly willing to address any questions you have there.
Are you done, Mr. President? We can get
With
started.
the report. Yeah, I guess we did break this into two parts. So the report itself, that's all I have.
Or Mr. Rodriguez, go ahead.
On the Macadoo area, I know that this area is really, really bad. Where are you at right now? Right when you started?
It's on the, come back up. It tells you where they're at.
We've completed 4 complete streets and 2 parcels.
In the reason, another translation is because I want the audience to also know. So you completed what?
We've completed 4 complete streets and 2 parcels. Just about everything that Lower Valley has released. There's one small port, should only take us just a few hours actually to complete, that we did not get done before the weather turned real cold. So we are finished with everything other than one very small port that Lower Valley has released to us so far.
And I know that you have far as money, as far
Well,
as
see,
money.
I don't agree because, I mean, at the end of the day, just last meeting, if you remember correctly, council voted to go ahead and prioritize paving of streets that were 4 and 5. And you yourself mentioned the fact that in your district there wasn't that much need for paving streets because you have such bigger subdivisions. And we all agreed that it was in Mr. Socorro to go ahead and do them based on the numbers. And the numbers show that, I mean, you do have relatively good streets in your district, which is good. I mean, that's good that we have good streets in the district. You know, I don't think we're leaving anybody behind. It's just a matter of that's how the streets are.
No, as far as money is concerned, I would like to use some of that money also for my district, for the needs of the district.
We'll see, I asked Mr. Liddell about this because in his recommendations, Doug, can you go to your recommendations, please?
Absolutely.
See, with this, let's remember, council, that over the next 2 years, we've essentially allocated 700,000. It was 100,000 for each council member, and then we added 100,000 for McAdoo, so right up to 700 this year. Next year, again, will be 600,000, and of course, for the next 2 years, the same amount, 600 and 600. So with this plan that he's recommending, if you notice, it's 686, you know, and basically it is the 700,000 that we allocated this year, more or less. Next year, we finish off the rest of the conditions 4 and 5. The following year after that, that's when you can start putting the one that are 3, which is the majority of your district. So in the grand plan that we've already done, nobody's really being left out. We're just addressing the areas that have the biggest need.
No, I understand all that, but I can't help but feeling that way, because all this money is going everywhere and in my district, what?
Well, again,
What about, because there's a lot of people already running the second phase of the ski house.
Right.
So why can't I take some of that money and use it for ski house instead of everybody else taking all that money?
Well, that hasn't been brought up
And I
yet,
understand that
but we haven't decided yet, so. This isn't the conversation for that because we're talking about speed bumps still. But I want to remind you that the condition for streets in District 4, Rebecca, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Liddell, that's right across from North Loop, right? Which used to be District 2. And in the gerrymandering of redistricting, they're now in District 4. So under the old, a couple of years ago, they were under District 2, now they're under 4, hence you have less streets.
I understand all that. I understand, I was there. But I still think that.
I'm just saying, Mrs. Rodriguez, that you bring up these allegations, but you were part of that decision that redistricted the district, so now your area that used to be District 2 is in 4, leaving you a smaller portion, so how can you argue against that when you voted for it?
And I'm like, that's true, I'm the District 1 representative. For years, I was a District 2 representative because of the gerrymandering that Mr.
And I know that I understand everything that.
I'm now representing District 1.
All right. Well, thank you for your presentation, Doug. Let's move into the actual discussion of the selection of the streets. How about that, everybody? Since we can still bring it back to that. Thank you, Doug. Number 19, discussion action.
I have a question. Can we move up an agenda item? Because I've noticed some people here from my community and it's getting late. I don't know what time it is. And
Well, we can go ahead and move it right up to 19. That's okay. So, yes, 19, discussion action acceptance recommendation by Public Works Director regarding street overlay project to identify streets to be paved and prioritize listing for same. So Mr. Liddell has gone ahead and recommended to us 3 courses of action. Course number 1 is to go ahead and do all of the category 5s, the ones in District 4 which are ranked number 4, the street repairs in Pedro, to go ahead and finish off those streets that are ranked number 4 in District 2, and the ones that are in District 9, in District 3, sorry. And then that's basically one of the recommendations, which is basically hitting all of them. The next recommendation is to go ahead and do the 4 and 5 streets as a 2-year project, which is basically what I think we understand as a 4-year project. To go ahead and basically divide them into one project this year and another one next year, or 3, stick to what we had said and just 100,000. Everybody does whatever they want on the streets, and that's pretty much it. So council can choose whichever recommendation you prefer, or go ahead and make a different recommendation based on the information that Mr. Liddell has provided us.
I'm looking here that on some of the 5s, they're in my inherited district, which I would have been a part of District 2. These are, oh my bad, these are the 4s. And they're big streets. Some here are 42,000, 40,000. So the 100,000, I paid roughly 2 streets.
No, we'll see under this recommendation, he's basically saying to do 13 of those 15 because they're all in the same neighborhood with the
whole neighborhood off Oleka could be done for about $300,000.
So under this scenario, we're not necessarily allocating 100 for you, 100 for me. We're all pitching in and saying, let's get done what needs to get done, which is the streets that Mr. Rosell is recommending. The other recommendation that he is making is to stick to the 100,000 and see how much we can get done in your individual districts. Or we can pull our money and do all this.
And just, Mayor, if you don't mind, just so that this kind of this update on what we've done. The first time we decided to allocate $100,000 for enough streets in our district, we made the decision to go ahead and start with District 4 first. The voting was here, went down to District 3 and then District 2 and then District 1. And then we went back to District 2 to finish up, but they didn't finish District 3. With the understanding that we were going to go start over again with the next $100,000 on District 1, District 2, District 3, District 4. So I was last the first go round in my district, that's what we were saying. And now, in this go round, if you follow that proposal, we would be last in Area 4. Okay? Your Area 4 would be the last to be taken care of. But it would be taken care of. It will be taken care of.
What I would recommend to council is that we stick to the plan that Mr. Liddell is recommending, with the change, like Mr. Cox said, council did agree, because last year we did do 4, 3, 2, and 1. We've allocated enough funds to do these projects, which typically should last us for 4 years, if not more, based on how the streets, the 3 rated ones are done. If we can go ahead and do, like he says, the 5 that are the rated 5s, go ahead and do them this year. There's about, what, 17, 15?
16, including the change with Regina.
Minus the ones that Lower Valley hasn't allocated to us, right? They haven't given any budgets. So how many are those? 4?
It's my understanding we already finished the side streets, didn't we? McAdoo?
What's that?
Didn't we finish the side streets?
No,
it's like.
Oh, yeah, they didn't release them all.
Okay.
We still have Reese Court to do in
Jewel and McAdoo. So basically, you would have like 4 that haven't been released to us, right, more or less. So a lot of those,
those are the 4 longest.
right. So why don't we go ahead, I'll work in this council, go ahead and do the condition 5 streets this year, as many as we can. If Lower Valley hasn't released them to us by the end of this year, let's go ahead and put them on for next year. Go ahead and do District 1 with the category 4 streets, like we said, we will take care of District 1 and District 2. If my math is correct, we had about 60 streets in total. We had 59 plus Regina, so that's 60. So that will be about 30 streets this year. And then next year, go ahead and finish out District 3 and 4, plus whatever is left in Lower Valley, which would basically total also 30 streets. So you would have even 50-50 with 30 and 30. We do District 1, District 2, District 3, and District 4. And that way, by the end of 2016, you have still full 1.2 million left to focus on streets that are rated number 3, number 2, number 1, if they need to be paved. But we take care of these streets, 4s and 5s, in the first 2 years.
Take care of the 5s and 4s?
Yeah.
Take care of the 5s?
Yeah,
first, and then
5s first, yes.
Yes, okay, so I want to make sure we understand. I like that.
And it will be the same thing, it will be the same 700,000 with the stockyard added to it, and if you need to make any other adjustments for potholes or whatnot, we still go ahead and stay on the budget, because that's what you're giving us.
The large majority of streets are in dire need, are in 5 that are 5 and 4s are in districts.
Yeah, so like I said, we take care of the condition 5 streets, whatever we don't have, we do it next year. Go ahead and do District 1 and 2, the ones that are rated 4, and then next year finish 3 and 4. If you do 30, you do 30, you read
Plus the rest of that, you do the 5s.
Yes.
Hopefully release by.
Yes.
Exactly.
Remember I spoke to Mr. Lopez, and you're saying paving of streets is basically, if it's a beautiful day, it can be done.
Neighborhood. It's going to be a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
No, well, that's because, you know.
We really didn't want to pay for the weather this week,
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
that beautiful.
you know, because of conditions, it makes it so much easier to be so much efficient because of the day indoors, according to the weather. So, you know, we don't have to postpone if the weather allows itself, pave as many streets as you can.
If the funds are available and the weather is cooperative, absolutely. There's no reason we couldn't continue with the plan a little early. That gives us contingency just in case the weather is really.
Not only that, but like Mr. Rodriguez pointed out, we still have the speed bumps that we need to add. We still have time to go ahead and do the dredging out here by Thunder Road. So we don't want to overdo them and put so many streets on it all at once. But I think that's, I say 30 and 30, that's about even. You have a good number for both years, and you still have to do any speed bumps that we might want to do, and the Thunder. So can we have a motion? Do we agree on that? Can we just have that motion? The what? The what?
She said saying.
No, I'm just saying that we wanna overload them because they still have other projects on the side. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Right, we have a motion to go ahead and approve the recommendation, David?
Second. The 5 and 4.
Yes, 5 and 4, go ahead and do District 1 and 2 this year on category 4, District 3 and 4 next year, 30 and 30. And then if we still have Lower Valley Street, add them on.
Just a question,
Yes.
can we make recommendations, like for example, you and I had talked about Mr. Bill, the Apalaca going towards the second part of Wind Road, that there are potholes there. I mean, just those kinds of things. It doesn't take a 3 Major Street overlay,
This, and
but just filling in potholes, is that still?
he did actually include that in his recommendation. He said go ahead and put in the software, and then, for example, in this one, we have about 14,000 left over. He did say anything left over, go ahead and do for that potholes, and he curb cuts that need to be done.
And we are definitely have to get their stock by the federal.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we bring it. On stock by road, you're perfect.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Littell, basically, like I said, handle the category 5s wherever they are. Get those out of the way first. If we don't have one by Lower Valley, okay, save them for next year. Go ahead and do the stockyard project, because Lower Valley, those truckers are not gonna hold that sand that's right there where they put it. And then go ahead and District 1, District 2, next year, 3 and 4, and if we still have Lower Valley, go ahead and vote.
That's so moved.
Alright, do we have a second for that?
Second.
We have a motion in a second, made by Mr. Cox, seconded by Mr. Bettis.
Okay, Mr. Bettis?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Gavin?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Rodriguez? Yes. Motion passes.
And then, Mr. Gavin made the request to go ahead and bring up item number 35 up for discussion next. Do we have a motion for that? Do we have a second for that?
Second.
We have a motion made by Mr. Gavin, seconded by Mr. Cox, to go ahead and bring up discussion item 35.
Mr. Bettis?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Gavin?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Rodriguez? Motion passes.
All right, number 35, discussion and action on approving and reauthorizing all upgrades to Mount Rosas Park as originally presented during initial construction to include delegating and authorizing city staff to accept and approve all contracts, bids, and/or any other documentation needed to complete Mount Rosas Park without downgrades to original scope of work, including authorizing city staff to divert and prioritize funding for completion of Mount Rosas Park. Do we have a motion for this?
I want to make a motion to deny the recommendation for allocating these funds for that park.
Do you have a second for that?
We still haven't had a presentation.
We can still go ahead and
Yeah, we can still have it.
Do you have a second for that?
I want to second it based on the discussion, I want to discussion in the.
We have a motion to go ahead and deny by Mr. Rodriguez, second by Mr. Cox. Any discussion, Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, as of December 18, we, the body council, approved $300,000 to start the repairs on Maria Rosas Park. The reason why it took so long is because initially, when we did this back in the summer, we wanted to do it, we were advised that the initial contractor was out of business. So it took so long to do it. One of the things, and I have a big issue, is that when we came in, they were making these lavish parks without the proper notification to our constituents of how we're paying for it. And when myself and some other members of council were elected, we were told that we needed to, downsize the parks for the simple fact that it was going to cost our constituents money. We already allocated $300,000. We're going to continue to do this. And I just have a question for Mr. Gandara. Where do you plan to get $1.2 million or whatever amount? Because on your backup, you didn't put any backup. You didn't put any backup as to where the funds are going to come from, how much it's going to cost the constituents. You didn't put any information whatsoever. And that is something that the audience doesn't know. That is something that anybody who wants to look at what we're bringing to council can't even look at our website because there's no backup. So they're clueless. And that's an issue that I have. That we already allocated $300,000 for this park. Because when we came in, if we would have done this park, originally it was going to cost $3.4 million. Okay? And I've And I've never seen a contract bid out and leaving a lot of stuff out there. I've only seen one company do it all, and they use, what's it called? Huh? No, they use, what is it, subcontractors to sub all the stuff they don't want to do. You know, but unfortunately, this contract was not properly wasn't properly told to our constituents, and, you know, where are we gonna come up with that money?
Originally, this park was proposed by the previous council. And funds had already been allocated for the construction of this park. The only thing that had to happen was allow this park to be built in our community. So there was funds. And to top it off, you approved $10 million COs. So there is money. The proposed budget is only about 6.4. Am I off, Mr. Murphy? If we're around 6 million, proposed budget for this year?
The cost,
No, the overall budget that we
No,
have.
the overall is
is like
6.4,
nine.
not $6 million.
No, it's like nine now. The
okay,
overall
but
budget.
if you all are.
The overall budget of the city for the fiscal year, that's what he's asking.
Oh, approximately, in the general fund, approximately $7 million.
7 million. So how much money do we have total in our budget? Not what's been approved, just overall, how much money does the city of Socorro have?
Are you referring reserves or what?
With the
Yes.
budget, just the
This
budget.
budget.
Okay,
Okay, 7.4 is what's been approved budget. Total. With COs, with money that's been spent, that hasn't been spent, how much money do we have sitting in the bank account? Is what I'm asking. How much money do we have as a city of Socorro? Not what's been approved for the budget, just as a city, how much money do we have?
I guess the question should be, we have $1.2 million available to spend on this park.
That's okay, good question. Good question.
That's what the
Do we
question
have 1.2 million?
Well, I think that question, no, hold on, because I think the question is aimed at the wrong person. I think, Mr. Granda, you brought up this, agenda item, and I think if you brought up the agenda item, it's because you should be knowledgeable of the fact whether we have the money or not. So I'll ask you, do we have $1.2 million available?
We do. From?
Where would we get the money from? I want to clarify something before you look at it. We just approved $700,000 for street pavings in Socorro for the next 2 years. And you saw, the majority of people that are here, I'm assuming live in District 4. District 4 will get 15 streets paved next year because it was $700,000. Now, I don't know if you all were aware of this, the playground for the park, just the playground for this park would cost $700,000. So you're telling me that the plan that we have now to pave streets all across Socorro, to pave 60 streets in Socorro, is less important than a playground that costs the same amount of money, $700,000 for just the playground. And this council has chosen over time to prioritize the needs of Socorro. We don't prioritize any luxurious items. The park is a park. There was a park there. Many of you who live in District 4 can attest to that. There was a park there. It was torn down, and they told you, we're going to build you a new park. We took out money to go ahead and improve the overall infrastructure of Socorro. And I asked you the question, ask yourselves, what is more important to you, actually? A playground or 60 streets that are paved in Socorro? I hear people complaining all the time about our streets, how bad they are, and yet we want to spend that much money on a playground? Did you go ahead and
Wait a second. I'm sorry. I didn't have the figure with me. Can I find out this one?
Ma'am, we don't allow clicking, I'm sorry. Thank you.
And the truth be said is that we do have the money. Whether it be in the reserves, whether it be in a bank account, collecting interest for banker. The city of Socorro does have the money to produce this park. And this park is extremely important not only to my community, but to Socorro in itself, because just to look at Bulldog Championship Park, it's brought Whataburger, McDonald's, Walmart. Because when people come to visit the park, and I'm sure everybody here will agree, that at Bulldog Championship Park, people from all over El Paso, people from Mexico, come to see that park. And the city produces revenue from that. Because it's beneficial for our community.
And this proposal that I have before you, we do have the money. And it will affect our community in a positive way because this project, this park, will allow our children to see the rings of Saturn, to see the craters on the moon. You have the ability right now, by passing this item, to inspire a child to be an astronaut, to dream of something better, to believe that it's not always going to be this bad. That there are people on this council that look at their best interests. And by producing this park, you're telling our community that they're worth it, that they deserve better.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
And to propose anything less than the original structure, the original concept of this park, is disrespect to my community and to Socorro as a whole. Because that telescope is second to none. And you're right, it is a monument to honor Mara Rosas, but to honor our community as a whole.
Okay, I have a question. We had money to the park before. So where did the money go? Was it allocated to other projects or where did it go?
A lot of it has been reallocated to different projects, as well as if we would have gone through the capital listing, we could see the 2012 and the allocation of what's remaining there. So other projects, as well as potentially doing other projects with money.
Go ahead, Bernie.
Okay, Mr. Norfleet, when we came in, if we would have done Mara Rosas Park, would we have any funds to do any of the capital improvements that we would want to do?
I would think not. Right now, the balance that's in the 2012 is a little over $800,000. And if to do Mara Rosas Park, we're talking approximately $2 million right now. So based on what it got spent on and what's remaining, is far, less than $2 million right now. So you go.
Right. So my question is, Mr. Gandara here wants to use, he's advocating to use the capital improvements COs that we came and told the public that we were going to do.
Technically, he says use it from wherever.
Well, use it from wherever. So basically, you're going to take those streets on District 4, and you can have a park, or you can have the streets. That's basically what it is. Or he also said that he wanted to use the reserves. Our city charter doesn't state that we have to have a certain amount of money on our reserves. That if we use the $2 million, we will be underneath that amount.
No, I don't think that you would. Currently, the reserve, and I have that on the report concerning the capital. The reserve currently is approximately 4.2 million, something that's with using maybe 400,000 or so in this particular budget year, which will put us at approximately 50% of the general fund expenditures, meaning that we have approximately 50%. The requirement that we're supposed to have is literally far lower than that, approximately 16%. So by taking 2 million from the 4 million, it's probably putting you below 25%, but not at the 16% level. So that part is a little bit different. There is money, but it's a choice of whether or not you would go down that low, doing whatever you plan.
So we go down that low, and when we have something, something pressing to the city that, just say, the lawsuits and stuff like that, then we would be in a jam.
Theoretically, yes.
Theoretically.
Yes.
So if we go below that threshold, that means we're gonna have to either let go of employees or start cutting projects, correct?
Well, you have to do a number of things.
A number of things.
Yes.
So basically is, we go ahead and do this park, and in the future, we're gonna be faced with a dilemma of letting go people or closing down child or the rec center, stuff like that.
Potentially. If
Just to balance the budget.
Potentially, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Mr. Costello.
We probably will go over as Bloomberg. too serious right now, okay, Mr. Rodriguez? I have to agree with you, Mr. Rodriguez, as far as, we've already set aside $300,000 to work on this park. I've had a constituent from District Court approach me before I got into the meeting a while ago, and they said, just fix the park. And go some grass on it, but leave it the way it was before, people still need it. So the $300,000 we're going to put into that park is going to improve that park quite a bit. It really is. You're getting the park. Please understand. You're not going to get this magnificent thing that's going to be built at a tremendous cost. And I have to agree with Mr. Rodriguez, I have in District 1, not only the streets that you saw, the number 1 streets that are in number 4 street that are in need. I've got streets that have never been paved in District 1, sir. And to me, it's a quality of life issue, just like it was directed to the people just now. Do we want a park in District 4 and put that money for District 4, in a park that only people from District 4 will be using because they live close by? Or do we want to improve the streets and the conditions of the streets in District 1? Because I've got people that are asking me, why has my street been paved for the first time after all these years? I've got the items on the agenda because I want to address that stuff. We need to. We have Rio Vista here. I'll address that later. We have Rio Vista here that we've been utilizing. Our public has been utilizing. It's private property. We need to have money to make a quality of life issue for our people so they can get up, go to take the kids to school, come back, get ready to go to work, do whatever they have to do, and be able to travel to and from work. We don't have that.
Just before Mr. Rodriguez goes ahead, I want to just jump in really quick. Mr. Rodriguez mentioned the budget and the numbers and whatnot. So Mr. Norfleet said that the overall budget right now is about 7.4. We would allocate maybe 1.4 million for this park, Mr. Norfleet. Let's just say 1.4. How much would you think we would allocate if it got approved tonight? The park, how much would it cost if we approved it right now? How much would you estimate it would cost us?
To go back to the original plan
yes.
would cost you approximately $2 million right now.
Okay. So the overall budget is at 7.4 more or less. And we're asking for $2 million, correct? I mean, that is over easily 30% of our budget. If we take it from the general fund and say, you know what, Mr. Norfleet, put everything aside, you build the park. If you do that, you would be asking the city of Socorro to invest over a quarter of the budget for this year for a single park. That is not financially responsible at all. Now, if you say, we'll take it from the reserves, like Mr. Rodriguez said, we have the reserves at 4.2 million. If you take away $2 million from the 4 million reserves, how much percentage of that is that, Mr. Gandara? 50%. So you're asking council, to save the finances of the city of Socorro. With all respect, go to hell. We want our park. I am asking you all to give up 30% of the annual budget that we budgeted for one park. Or I am asking you all to give up 50% of the money that we have saved to build a park. We just allocated $700,000 for 60 streets. With $2 million, 7 times 3 is 21. That means that almost 180 streets could be paid with $2 million. And one of the park. Go ahead, Mr. Rodriguez.
Ms. Rodriguez. Mrs. Rodriguez.
Everybody knows, it's no secret that I love parks. I mean, it's a quality of life improvement. And just to correct Mr. Cox on what he said, not only District 4 will use that park will be used by a lot of other people, just like the way that Bulldog Championship Park is used. People come from Tornillo, people come from Dulce, people come from San Elizario. I know, I've seen in my mail. Just to correct you, that park, if it's built, will be visited by a lot of people, not just District 4. That's all it is.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Well, I can also say that they come from Garden City, Kansas to go in and look at the park. I mean, we don't have statistics to say where they're coming from.
No, I'm just
So what I'm saying is, we can come out here and say, oh, they come from here, they come from there. We don't really know. We can say that, but we don't have any back and forth. What I'm trying to say is this. It is our responsibility in council to give our constituents their needs, not their wants. And what we need are streets, our infrastructure. That is our need, that is our greatest need. If you heard before, that's why the Council of Governments agreed upon. That's why they're giving away their funding to give it to Socorro, because there is a need. Because not only do we need streets, we need sidewalks. You want to take that from our children? You know, when it rained, I had a lot of calls, because the kids were there. And Mr. Norfleet, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't I call you? Because there were puddles, and our children were in the middle of the street. We're in the middle of the street because there was a lot of water there. What if a car comes and hits them? Just because we want to build a park. Okay? Well, and our streets are deteriorated as well. What if, just to say, God forbid, you know, a bus is going to pick up our children because they're in the middle of the street, hits a pothole, and runs over our children. I'm just saying, but it could happen. What I'm saying is, we need to do our due diligence. We owe it to our constituents, because since 1985, we really did not do anything for our streets, for our infrastructure. People say, hey, it takes long to go from this street. Oh my God, potholes here. My car is messed up. My tire, I have to change tires. My struts. That's the stuff we have to deal with and we have to be responsible for. I take it, and I have to say to council, be responsible. We owe it to our constituents to give them all the infrastructure. That's why we took out the COs, and we should use it for any other else. If you want quality of life, then you know what? Bring a plan. If you want to ask our constituents to fork out some more money, then go right ahead. But we already took our COs for the sole purpose, because we already told our constituents, this is what we're going to do. We're going to bring everything, all our infrastructure up to par. What good does it do to have a beautiful park, and you're going to mess up your car because the streets aren't good enough to get to the park? That is something that we need to understand. Quality of life is a different and separate issue. We owe it to our constituents to do the right thing and keep it in the infrastructure.
Mr. Pettis,
I just, first, a question and a comment. For Blue Dog Championship Park, what was the total cost for that project, Mr. Mark?
I would say that was, considering all that was in there, I would say maybe 2.9 or something like that.
2.9.
As a guess, 2.9 maybe.
And I know that there was controversy with that park.
Absolutely.
There was. And I understand and I appreciate the quality of life issues. I don't see, and we were having this discussion with the police department, by the way, I voted no, not because of the 15, but I wanted the entire 30.
Please go ahead.
Okay, well, I just want to throw that in, but nonetheless, we're talking about piecemealing firearms for the potential protection of our citizens and our police department. Why can't we stagger the development of Mauro Rosas Park? In good budgeting, you anticipate those costs. So I would, if we have $300,000 to spend at this point in time, then we have $300,000 to spend. That's not to say that you, as the representative for that district, over the course of 4 years that you have on council, or 2 years, I apologize, 2 years. I apologize. Either way, you have the opportunity to vet out a plan for the further development of that park. And so I at this point, we do have the fiduciary responsibility of making sure that the infrastructure is in there, because all too often, again, the safety and security of our citizenry, our children, is first and foremost. I understand that there is a need for quality of life in Area 4, but at the same time, I think that we can piecemeal it and stagger it and still end up with the same results. We told the chief that. You're not getting 30, but you're getting 15. You're getting what you want. So I think we can apply the same argument to this point.
This park, in the original proposed concept, is bringing something to our community. That, Victor, you understand that? I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm sorry.
is that we have no other telescope of this caliber. In El Paso County, we don't. The ability to see the rings of Saturn and the craters on the moon can engage children of El Paso County into the sciences. You know, what's being proposed, you're right, it is a quality of life issue. But the problem is that my community has seen a mattress and a tire and weeds on what used to be a park. And that issue hasn't been addressed for a year and a half. And I think for a year and a half, my community has somewhat felt neglected and been neglected. And so proposing this, you are now going to offer our community and our children something that they didn't have, like they didn't have before. They didn't have a water park before, and now they have one. And I dare anyone to say that every child that has played on that park hasn't deserved it, when they deserve the best.
Absolutely, I agree. But the thing is that we have an overriding responsibility, and it's like knowing that you need to fix the house before you get the pool. And so to me, our house needs to be fixed. We need to do major maintenance to the house, and not to diminish the importance of having the telescope, because I think that's great. I think that's a wonderful aspiration. But by the same token, I think that if we were to plan that out, I think that at this point, in any park, kids would love to have a telescope, but I bet you anything, once the novelty passes with the telescope, they're going to be out running around on the grass. And to me, at this point, I think that we need to just concentrate on fixing absolutely making it the best for the money that we've got right now, and then in next year, plan for adding the stuff that you want. But I think it needs to be staggered.
Mr. Cox, Mrs. Rodriguez, myself, Mr.
No,
Rodriguez.
it was Ms. Rodriguez.
Go, let her go, Mr. Cox. Go ahead, Mr.
Please
Rodriguez.
All I need to clarify, and I know that you kind of said, Ms. Rodriguez, but I was just clarifying that there's a lot of people that will come to the park, not just people from District 4, not to diminish the importance of the street and the paving and everything that needs to be done. That's all I was doing. I'm not against new streets or the infrastructure because it's needed. But there will be a lot of people coming into the park.
Mr. Cox.
I just have to ask, if we put $300,000 aside, and we had to choose between District 4 and District 2, I can't help but wonder what vote would be there. Okay, because we know that Ms. Rodriguez has been pushing for a park in District 2. Okay, but hold on. But now, here's what I'm saying. Once again, please. We are, and I have been recognized, right? We are and have already set aside $300,000 towards that park. It's going to get fixed. You're going to have a park. You're not going to have the 1.2 million, the 1.6 million, whatever, 2 million, whatever. You're not going to have it. But you're going to have a park. And it's going to be satisfactory. If you want improvements later, like I said, at a later time, you can bring it back up and say, I want to add to my park. Not a problem. So having said that, I think we've dealt with it long enough, and since I've been recognized, I am calling no question.
Well, we have to go ahead and take a vote on that.
Mr.
Yes,
Mayor, we do have several speakers.
we have to go ahead and, first of all, Mr. Cox has made a motion to go ahead and call for the question. Do you have a second? Or do we want to continue the discussion with two more? All right, motion dies. So go ahead, just me and Mr. Rodriguez, and that's it. I just want to make 2 points. Did you second it?
No, I want to say something.
I just want to say 2 things. We keep talking about the positiveness that this will bring to our community in terms of education, and you know what looking at the stars will do. I can look at the stars right now, you know, and I mean I can guarantee you. Do you know the percentage of people who have a college degree? It's only 7%. Only 7% of the people who have a college degree. Since I've been here, I've reached out to people, of course, to the students, Mrs. Rodriguez, the chief. We walk out to the middle schools, to the high schools, we looked into developing a scholarship program, right, Mr. Nolfo? We also had,
Point of order, Mayor.
we also went ahead and had a thing for the employees. So we can't say that, like Mr. Pettis said, looking at a telescope is great, but at the end of the day, it wears off. You know, if you want to get a telescope, you have them at Mount Observatory, like 2 hours away from here, and that's great. You know, and I just want to say that again, really, like they've been telling you, your job as a council member is to advocate for the needs of your community. You win some, you lose some. Lord knows I found with Mr. Cox, he wins sometimes, I win sometimes. And like they're telling you, right now, you already have 300,000. If you want to ask council for more at a later time, next year, 2 years from now, you know what, keep fighting for what you want. And if you keep on losing, then I mean, it's your job to say to council, vote for this and agree with me. And if they say no, well, then they say no. You know, there's nothing you can do about that. Renee, go ahead.
Okay. My whole thing for you guys, and for Gloria as well, because we were speaking at the TPAC, where I'm a sitting voting member, and the mayor is a sitting voting member for the NPOs. There are funding. There is funding. Next council meeting, I'm going to bring something up just for the issue of parks, because I don't want to waste taxpayer money and just say, hey, we're going to take out COs and use $1 million, $2 million to do a park, when we could stretch out that funding to get grants, and you can make that $2 million and convert them into, say, $4.5 million. You see, and Socorro has done this many times. They go out to the constituents, we're going to raise your taxes, they get COs, and they use all of the money instead of going out for grants and stretching out that dollar. You know, 20% is all it is when you ask for money. 20%. So if you're going to ask for $1 million, if you do the math, that's $200,000 that the city of Socorro needs to put. 200. There, the city is going to get from grants 800,000. That should not hit our constituents. So what I'm saying is, give the opportunity. We are going to we are changing the mentality. Like I said, before, the mentality was, oh, if there's money in Socorro, tax them. That's all it was, all the time. Oh, let's get COs, and we'll push them as far as we can, and then we'll tax them eventually. The mentality is now, we're going to stretch our mighty dollar. If we can avoid using that money and come back with some grants, there's grants to upgrade our parks. Okay? Nobody looks at that. You want the taxpayer to front the bill. You know, I'm tired of that. When I came in here, I didn't do it for the money or for the glory. I did it because, you know what? Things were being done differently. We want to move and make a step forward. Of course we want parks. I said it once and I'll say it again. I said I will not use our taxpayers' money and use millions of dollars for a park. It doesn't mean that I don't love parks, because I take my kids to the park. And as far as the telescope, I have a telescope at home because I love looking at the stars. I do. Okay? I teach my daughter.
Renee, you want to look at stars?
But what I'm saying is that we need to stop spending 100% of our taxpayers' money and make it stretch, and that's why there's grants. What I'm saying is, give me the opportunity next week, next council meeting, I'm going to present something just for parks. Because I understand you want a park. I want a park bigger than the ones we have. I want a better park. But give us the opportunity. If you want, if you have some time, you can come and we'll talk about it. But there's grants out there. We don't need to use 100% of our funding for it, because we can do more with our money. Like I said, I don't want to use our taxpayers' funding for that.
I think we're done with the discussion, so we have the motion to 9 seconds there. Go ahead.
But we do have some.
Yes. Are they still here?
Mr. Rockland?
Oh, there you go. You're not wearing your Mount Rosa Park shirt?
Can I question that soapbox that Renee was using is weak right now, getting ready to break? Okay.
Renee's been on it after it is broken. I've been listening to this for about 20 minutes now.
Sorry, guys.
It's not going to pass. We don't need it right now. The only thing this park will bring, it will bring people, but it's gonna bring a lot of debt. We've already had our taxes raised because of the last round of talks. $1 million for Apalaca, $2 million for,
It's hard to hear you.
okay, well, $2 million for Bulldog Championship. And what happened? They had to raise their taxes. Why? Because they couldn't. You couldn't afford all that money. Roads, we need roads. You just approved $700,000 for roads. And you want to take $2 million more? You could pay Wallace and Oro for that. We need infrastructure. We need to be able to get from our jobs, which are not as important. A lot of jobs are not passive. We need to get to those jobs and get home. I don't know if you've seen North Loop at 5 o'clock in the evening. It stretches all the way to Romance. We need Owego tanks. We need that. We need Passmore. 3 lights to get out of Passmore. 3 times the light has to change to get out of Passmore. We've already got the bridge started. We need those type of projects. We don't need more parks. You've already allocated $300,000 for a park. We don't need a telescope. I've been to Apalaca Center, I've been to Championship, and I've yet to see one astronaut. Okay.
There's still a little.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Margarita.
She found.
Javier Rodriguez.
Left.
Huh?
They left.
They left? Okay. Albert Flores?
Your district. 11. Go ahead, next one.
That's it.
All right, so go ahead, we have a motion to deny, seconded, go ahead. Yes. Oh, wait, that's okay.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Rodriguez and by Mr. Cox. Mr. Pettis?
When is it always turn on this?
Deny.
Motion is 9, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Gondeta? Mr. Cox?
Yes.
And Mr. No. Okay.
All right, we go ahead and have a recess, we've been at it for almost 2 hours now. Let's take it back and then back. Can I break?
Yes.
Motion made by Mr. Cox, seconded by Mr. Ganda,